Testing 1, 2, 3. Check, check, mic check.
Convene in public session. This is the August 6th meeting of the Burbank Unified School District Board of Education. Well, let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Everybody can stand. Place your right hand over your heart.
Pledge allegiance to the flag, of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty
and justice for all. Thank you so much. We acknowledge the traditional ancestral unceded territory of the Chumash, Tongva, Fernandeño, Tateviem, and First Nations on which we are learning, educating, and living. Great. Moving on to 5, report on closed session. I have full of reports from closed session. During closed session, the Board of Trustees of the Burbank Unified School District approved the appointment of Maisha James McIntosh to the position of Assistant Superintendent, Special Education and Student Services. The motion was made by Trustee Weisberg and seconded by Trustee Kano and was approved by a vote of 4-0. During closed session, the Board of Trustees of the Burbank Unified School District approved the appointment of Stephen Hicks to the position of Public Information Officer. The motion was made by Trustee Agakanian and seconded by Trustee Kano and was approved by a vote of 4-0. And last, during closed session, the Board of Trustees of the Burbank Unified School District approved the appointment of Kelly Stone to the position of Director of Expanded Learning. The motion was made by Trustee Weisberg and seconded by Trustee Kano and was approved by a vote of 4-0. Dr. McCoy.
Thank you, President Ponser, Kamkar, trustees, staff, and guests. We'd like to invite to the podium just for a brief introduction. First, our new Assistant Superintendent, Maisha McIntosh. Please come to the podium.
Good evening, and of course, I am Maisha James McIntosh, but more importantly, I'm so excited and very proud to soon to be the Assistant Superintendent of Special Education and Student Support Services. This has been a really wonderful process. I am very thankful of the genuine kindness and the warm feeling as far as the part of this process. And of course, I just want you to know I'm going to do more than my very best. I will exceed expectations, and I look forward to working with each and every one of you. Thank you so much. Let's get to work.
All right, thank you. We'd like to invite to the podium our new Public Information Officer, Stephen Hicks, for a short introduction.
Well, thank you, Dr. McCoy. Thank you, members of the search committee, and thank you to the board for believing in me in this position as we go through a real moment of change. I'm a former broadcast journalist. I spent the last 11 years as an anchor reporter, getting to share the stories of people and really earning the trust of the community. And I'm looking to do that here in a new way. And that starts with learning the community, right? I know with the school year going next week, got to hit the ground running. It's a goal of mine to meet with all 21 schools and learn the stories and learn how we can best as a district amplify those stories and really, leverage my contacts in the media. I got married. I don't know if you can see that there. Last month, my wife, she's an anchor reporter at CBS LA. So I've got contacts all across LA that, again, hoping to shine the light on the good that's going on here at Burbank Unified. So thank you again. Incredibly excited. And let's get to work.
Thank you. And we'd like to invite our new Director of Expanded Learning, Kelly Stone, for a brief introduction.
Good evening. Thank you for having me. Thank you to Superintendent McCoy and the board. I am so excited, and the cabinet as well. Thank you. Sorry. I'm so excited to start my 32nd year in education here in Burbank with all of you to support the families, the parents and grandparents and principals and kids who deserve to have access and excellence in every single expanded learning program that we have here in Burbank. So thank you for your trust. And yeah, I'm ready to get to work too.
Cool.
Yes. Thank you so much and welcome to our future new team members. Just as a point of information, Trustee Olson is out sick today, so we wish that she feels better soon, but it will just be the four of us tonight. So let's move on to the adoption of the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda, Dr. McCoy?
Yeah, staff has two items that we'd like to pull from the consent calendar for discussion. Dr. Hasty.
Yeah, item 13X, the PO report, we did find a PO on there that was actually closed, and that is 2700210, former employee. So that was closed, and then we had another PO that when we reran that report, we had a change in the settings on that PO, so it's kicking it till the August 20th, and you'll see amendment on that as well. So what you have there as the amended version is the correct report.
So we can move that as amended when we get to consent calendar?
Correct.
Okay, got it. Just X, yes.
And then 13K, I believe, and that is we had to adjust the funding to make sure there's funding and it's routine restricted maintenance for 13K. And that will be just the fiscal impact. It is routine restricted maintenance, which is resource 81,500.
Also amended.
Also approved as amended.
Thank you. Any other adjustments to the agenda? Then can I get a motion and a second to adopt the agenda, please?
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 4-0. Items for future consideration. Dr. Weisberg.
Thank you. I would love to get some kind, it doesn't have to be a report, but word on the street is that our AP scores are phenomenal. And it would be great to be able to talk a little bit about how our school sites did, celebrate our teachers and our students a little bit. But I believe that Dr. Anders and Ms. Markison have been working on this independent of just in life. But it would be great to hear about that. And whether it's the 20th or sometime in September is fine.
Anyone else? I have one request. Folks may have seen the news over the weekend. There was a teenager that was riding an e-scooter and unfortunately passed away from injuries from a car accident in town. It was not a Burbank Unified student, but it did remind me that we don't have great policy on e-bikes and scooters. And I've certainly heard some complaints. The city does, but we should be working with the city on making sure that our policies are coherent with theirs. And that we're encouraging responsible use by our students to keep them safe. Dr. Arkanian?
Madam Chair, also, if we can also look into seeing an increase of young people riding electric motorcycle.
Yes.
That downtown and everywhere now, and they look like young people. I don't know what the policies are on those, or even if they show up in school with that, what is the policy?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
That was my thinking on it as well. Great, thank you. Anything else? All right, moving on to 8 presentations and recognitions. We have a FCMAT report. Dr. Hasty.
So as requested, I believe last spring, there was a request from community and board members just to hear where we are with FCMAT. And so the plan is to continue with presentations as we make progress. Today's presentation is mainly going to be about how we are measuring our progress throughout to address the fiscal health risk analysis survey that was done last spring. So just to give you a timeline here, we'll see here the first report we did have came out in 2024. And then we have the September 2025 FCMAT update that was done with the previous CBO, Chief Business Official Assistant Super Business Services at that time. And then 2026, we have the new FCMAT report, which came out this last spring. And then in August, I did give a slight update with some slides at one point. And then of course, which will be this update. And then the next we'll plan to bring a report forthcoming Just to give you a little bit of the history, going back 2024, the district did take action. I'm going to talk a little bit about that from the 2024 report. I know there was some discussion around that, what has happened, and I will recover some of that. But overall, you'll see the 2026 fiscal health risk analysis, that's the FHRA, expanded the review from business services to district-wide fiscal health. And then this is really the new one includes the financial condition and talked a little bit about the governance and leadership, stability, reserves, and deficit spending. From the last report that was done with the previous CBO, these are some of the items. You'll see there was a report out at that time in September on organizational structure, where you see that there was some restructuring within the business services team at that time to address some of the concerns. They did create weekly team meetings. They had one-on-one checks. And then you'll see some operational processes and procedures that were created then as well, creating their year-long internal calendar. They did have at one point, and we still are using the job matrix, so we know exactly which business services team member, what their job is and who their backup is. And those are all just good practices in general. And of course, with the budget development, one of the big things that came out of this was the use of workbooks in general. And again, these are things that we are actively looking at, revising and making better as we go. But just to make sure everybody's aware, there was action that was taken from the previous report. So the way the report that we saw that works, it's a little confusing. It's more what I like to hear is called the golf score. So you'll see, you'll see here each indicator had a yes or no, and there was an NA for methodology, and you'll see it was just a bit different. And what we essentially got to was what was called a high risk for fiscal solvency, and it's a little confusing the way it was laid out. So I want to just get to this really quick. You'll see it. There are categories within the fiscal health risk analysis, and that's what I based our workbook on. There were 20, but each one of those categories can have subcategories, and I'll talk about this later. For example, 6 of the 20, that is really about bargaining. There are about 5 or 6 components within that you'll see later that we actually have met since this last year from the actions we've taken. And I have that approximate 134 because that was 134 actual different items within the 20 components. However, some of them don't apply for us. For example, we don't have a charter school. So there's a number of items around there. So we'll get to the total number and you'll see where we are. But the initial score put us at a 37.4% for the analysis, which was still considered not high risk, so to say. But since we had the lack of ongoing concern letter, that's why we went up to the 40% as a qualifier. So what I did is, again, this is a bit confusing. So I wanted to be the teacher that I am. And I turned this around a little bit. So we had the compliance, we see the yes there, the scoring methodology. And so I made something a little bit simple in our tracker. So if we're going to meet one of those components, we just say we got a yes, it's a 1, it's a very binary approach. And of course, if we're not meeting it, it's 0. And then there's some NAs that are still in there. So I have the methodology here, the percentage, and that's again what will equate to our percentage when we get and talk about compliance. Looking at this, and this is just a compliance comparative. So as we looked at how FCMAT's looking at us, if you see on the top left, measures fiscal risk. But for us, what we're trying to do is implementation. So we're really looking to progress for implementation to get there. And then the second row down, you'll see more no responses. We're trying to get to yes on everything. So I'm flipping it a little bit. And then of course, the FCMAT score, like I said, was more that golf score. The higher you go, it gets worse, but we're switching it to more of a grade letter score. And so as we go up, we get a better score. And so just for an example, this gives you the rubric. And so as I created this score, we took the percentages, broke it down so everybody can really see it. And the highlight is actually where we're at. And I'll get more into the growth over time, where we've been. But as of today, you'll see 70 to 79%. See that really with all those items that we are getting in compliance with, most recommendations have been implemented, significant improvements have been made to fiscal practices, internal controls, operational processes. Remaining items are generally more complex, and there are, and I will talk to some of those. So here's the growth. And every time when we come back for this update, I will use the same slide and you'll see another row that gets added to it. And hopefully we'll just see that number increase as we get things more, as we implement more items. But where we started in April, based on the rubric and score sheet that I had in our workbook, we were at a 57.3%. And again, that would equate to where we started with that 37 you saw earlier. But but we're going up. So in June, we did a number of things, and I did give the SBAC an update at that point, which got us to 61.5. But as of today, where we're at 71.8. The next item I will be talking about on the agenda will be that budget calendar. Just to give you an idea, once we get that on finalized, and again, it's an informational meeting or a agenda item, but once I get that finalized, posted, for example, that one component will put us about the 72 percentile. So as we do these things, I will be showing the growth. Okay, so this just gives you a detailed version of those subcomponents. And I'll just really, I'm not going to go through every one, but really pay attention to 6. You'll see 6.2 current year bargaining settled. We were able to settle our bargaining. It was wonderful. I really appreciate it. And I will give kudos to BTA and CSEA for working hard this year. And the way, and then you'll see we had the signed TAs. And then of course we get to 6.4. We did pre-settlement analysis. We had our AB 1200. So there was just certain things that, again, past practice wasn't implemented. For example, as we are doing bargaining and looking at the costs of any potential salary and benefit ask, it's incumbent upon the CBO or financials to really look at the numbers and then put that in comparison to see where we'll end up in that third year out. And again, so what we did in bargaining is we show those numbers in real time to make sure everybody knows, like, this is the money you're asking, this is the total cost, and this is where we'll end up. We didn't have a process for that. So now we do. We have an Excel spreadsheet that really clearly shows where we go in the future years. But you'll see we're 6.2, 6.4, 6.7. Those are all around that bargaining. We did it right. And so we were able to have substantial or substantiating documents that support that we are in compliance with those areas for now. Okay, so and this just gives you a breakdown of a percentage of what we're looking at as I go into the details, and we are able to put a yes or that binary number. Once we know we go to a yes or it's compliant, we put a 1 in this other spreadsheet. And then we also have another section where we'll have the link to the backup documentation that supports why we can move that up. So these are the 20 areas that equate to those other 134 items that not all of them are applicable, but you'll see this is how we're scoring it. Okay, so big next steps. You're right now, this number will move by the time I report, we bring the report in September, be just by the budget calendar alone. And then of course, we're working on another big item, which would be a fraud hotline. Those are one of the items that were in the report as well. And so we just want to make sure these items you'll see here, we also have position control. More complex process. That's going to take some time, and we're going to have probably some components of that would substantiate that we're in compliance with that. So we have a lot to do. There's other items on this list, whereas for me, my position has to be here for 2 years to get one of those no's to a yes. Dr. McCoy as well, and that was one of the items too. We would have to push those to 2 years to get 2 more points on this scoring tracker. So that is the end of the presentation. If there are any questions, please let me know.
Just to clarify, this is based off of the kind of publicly available financial health risk analysis
Yes.
that FCMAT uses for every LEA. Is that right? Okay. Any other questions? Dr. Weisberg?
This could be the exact same question, but when we're talking about the scorable items, can you talk, are those what President Ponser-Kamkar just brought up? Those are the things
Right.
specifically within FCMAT?
Correct.
Okay. That was my question.
Great. Thank you. Then we can move on to 8B, the budget calendar. Dr. Hasty.
So it's on the backup on the posted agenda if there's a way to get to that.
So this is there we go. Thank you. Okay. So one item for recommendation identified through what I explained before for the FCMAT was to establish a comprehensive annual budget calendar. One slight change, it doesn't need to be board approved. I just want to be clear on that, but it is an informational item. As we look at the budget calendar, this is a very simplified version. I've already received a lot of feedback, and this is one of the, good things about this to bring it to the board. So at this time, right now, we do have the, what we're going to call the Budget Advisory Committee meetings that are aligned with the statutory board reporting meetings, which are quarterly. A few items that we most likely will add to this is in alignment with the LCAP calendar and the PAC, the Parent Advisory Committee meetings. Also with the governor's budget release in January. We also in December, we have the financial audit that we need to bring. So we're going to add some more items to this. And then once finalized, we will then be we'll be posting on the website as well. And so everybody will have that publicly available. And again, just by doing this, we will be able to move into compliance, having a district-wide budget calendar that's aligned to statutory guidelines.
Thank you. Questions from my colleagues? Dr. Weisberg.
Thank you for answering all my questions this week. Just as a clarification, you've responded to this already, but changing it from superintendent's budget advisory committee to budget advisory committee, there's no implications regarding Brown Act or what the role of the committee is. It's just a simplification of the name.
Correct.
Great. Thank you. This looks great. I can't believe we didn't have it before, but I'm glad we have it now. So thank you. Ms. Kano.
Yeah, it's more of a, I do have a question, but I do love the alignment now with the calendar with all the other groups, so for with LCAP and such. And to Dr. Weisberg, yeah, the idea of taking off that S for me was really helpful because every time they said SBAC, as a teacher, I think SBAC. I don't think.
She thinks the
superintendent's
testing.
And I literally last year, a few times I was thinking, why are we talking state testing when we're talking budget? So it's that for me, it's been helpful. Well, just for you then, Dr. Hasty and Dr. McCoy, with new trustees that we're going to be coming on board, this seems like it's really going to be super helpful to be able to get people up to speed because it's all pretty much spelled out there. So we'll be able to use this? I guess my question is, and then how else will we be able to get people then up to speed so that by December, when we're doing a lot of this voting and such, will we be able to, if they get voted in November, could that interim, could we at least help them work through? But
I mean, that December meeting will likely be their first meeting.
yeah, and I'm saying, and
Yeah,
we're
I
reviewing.
can
Okay, go ahead,
Thanks.
Dr. McCoy.
Okay, so when we anticipate we'll have two new trustees in the November election and the time between when the election is certified and when the trustees take office at the December board meeting, we'll have a whole onboarding procedure for trustees, including going over our code of ethics, our board bylaws, our governance handbook that we'll be adopting between now and then. We'll have meetings with our fiscal team to discuss the budget because one thing that happens to new trustees is you walk into your first meeting and the first interim budget is before you as an action item. So it's really important to have that month ahead of time to provide new folks on the board with that opportunity to get up to speed. And we'll be building that and have it available for those who are elected.
Good question. Thank you, Dr. Hasty. All right. The next item is 9A, request to address the board. Those persons wishing to address the board may do so at this time and are asked to complete a speaker card. All public comments are to be directed to the board president. Individual speakers shall be allowed 5 minutes to address the board on each agenda or non-agenda item. However, in exceptional circumstances, when necessary to ensure full opportunity for public input, the president may, with board consent, adjust the amount of time allowed for public input and/or the time allotted for each speaker. Any such adjustment shall be done equitably so as to allow for a diversity of viewpoints. The board president may also ask members of the public with the same viewpoint to elect a few individuals to address the board on behalf of that viewpoint. Please refer to the complete text of the Burbank Unified School District Board Bylaw 9323, Meeting Conduct, Public Participation. Due to the Brown Act that governs public meetings, the board cannot respond directly to public comments. The board can direct the superintendent and staff to meet with members of the public to better understand their concerns or points of view. All right. The first card that I have is Sarah Hovsepian, followed by Linda Walmsley.
Good evening, Board President Campcar, Vice President Weisberg, Board Clerk Kano, Board Member Olson, Board Member Agakanian, Superintendent Dr. McCoy, all other esteemed members of the board, and members of the Burbank community. My name is Sarah Hovsepian, and I'm honored to serve as Burbank High School's ASB Vice President. Our ASB President, Avoy Langestian, was unfortunately unable to attend this evening, so I'm happy to be here on his behalf to share some updates on what ASB has been working on throughout the summer and what we have planned as the new school year begins. As we prepare to welcome students back for the new school year, our ASB team has been working hard throughout the summer to make sure we have a successful start to the school year. Registration began last week and continued throughout this week, and today we welcomed our incoming freshman class. Thanks to the hard work of our ASB students and staff, registration went very smoothly. ASB decorated the campus, played music, gave tours, and helped students and families find their way around. Tomorrow, we will finish registration with our makeup day for students who were unable to attend. Over the summer, ASB has also had a very successful fundraiser that brought in approximately $5,000 to support student activities and events throughout the year. We are extremely grateful to everyone who supported us. We also have a very exciting weekend ahead. On behalf of ASB, I would like to invite everyone to the Back to School Community Movie Night this Saturday, August 8 at 8 p.m. on the Burbank High School field. This event is open to our entire community, including elementary, middle, and high school students, as well as parents, families, and neighbors. We'll be showing Teen Beach Movie with snacks, food, and a coffee truck available throughout the night. We hope this will be a fun opportunity for the community to come together. We would especially love to see the board members and their families if you are able to join us this Saturday. We are also excited for the return of one of our favorite traditions, the foam party. We are currently exploring the possibility of hosting this year's event jointly with Burroughs High School in order to bring both schools together to build school spirit and celebrate our district community. Looking ahead to the fall, ASB has been working hard planning our football season and homecoming. This year, we will be having 7 home games, including our homecoming game, and we are already developing themes and activities for each. We have also begun planning Spirit Week, Senior Sunrise, and rallies, homecoming, and many other traditions students look forward to throughout the year. At the same time, we are brainstorming new events and experiences that we hope will make the school year memorable. Another major focus for us this summer has been building our ASB team itself. Our members have been participating in an ASB retreat and summer camp session, focused on team building, leadership, goal setting, and planning for the year ahead. I would also like to take a moment to recognize our ASB President, Avoy Langestian, whose dedication and leadership have played a huge role in everything ASB has been able to accomplish so far. We would especially like to welcome and thank our new ASB advisor, Ms. Nguyen. We are very excited to work with her this year and incredibly grateful for the time, energy, and support she has already given our student leadership program. And to Mr. Hubble, alongside our teachers, administrators, classified staff, custodians, campus supervisors, and everyone else who has been working hard behind the scenes, we truly thank you. With the first day of school coming up next Thursday, we are more than ready to welcome the Bulldogs back to campus. Our goal this year is to not only continue the traditions our students love, but also to create new ones. Thank you to the board, our district staff, our community for your continued support for Burbank High School and student leadership. We cannot wait to see what this year has in store. Thank you and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you, Ms. Hovsepian. All right, next I have Ms. Walmsley, followed by Joel Schlossman.
I'm not up there. You have to indulge me just a minute. I saw this podium here on Saturday, and it reminded me of many years ago during my 48-year tenure in this district. I was honored to work with the superintendent and the school board during the heyday of the then Burbank Partnership Program. And every year we had an annual celebration, and this podium was a big part of it. And this little drawer here was where we left notes to the superintendent for the event. Don't forget to do this. Remember to do this. So when I saw that, I was just reminded of a time that I enjoyed. Anyway, good evening. My name is Linda Walmsley. At your meeting on June 4th, Molly D'Armende, a member of the Superintendent's Budget Advisory Committee, addressed you. Among the things she told you are, and I quote, "The district still has the reality of continued deficit spending, declining enrollment, shrinking reserves, and the need to align staffing with enrollment trends. We are still overspending and ill-prepared for another school year and another 3-year financial outlook. I struggle to understand how a district facing ongoing structural deficits and declining enrollment can justify expanding central administration while reducing leadership at school sites, end quote. These are comments that are similar to others that are voiced at these meetings. They are often offered by what you refer to as those senior citizens. Are correct. There are a group of us that have spent the last year coming and sharing things like this with you. We hope you will realize that while as retired citizens, we have the time to come and share these concerns, we are not the only people in Burbank that have such concerns. It is, in fact, a broad-based, large group of your constituents that want fiscal stability for the BUSD and want you, the board and leadership team, to put every effort toward that goal. Molly also told you that she would be leaving Burbank and therefore the Superintendent's Budget Advisory Committee. My question for you tonight is, when and how will you replace Molly on that SBAC committee? Her youth and ideas need another voice for all of us that want fiscal stability for the district and an end to the lack of going concern designation we currently have. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Walmsley. I have Joel Schlossman, followed by Mary Brinkhoff.
Good evening. And I'm sorry. And you removed all the awards and recognitions from the wall, so I couldn't correlate the exact dates. Mr. McCoy, I'm not impressed with you so far. You remind me of Eddie Lampert. He's the guy who took over Sears and put it into bankruptcy. And right in the middle of bankruptcy, he went and bought Kmart. And of course, we all know what happened to Sears and Kmart. He put it right into the ground. So I would like you to tell me, can you name another organization or another school district that spent their way into prosperity? Because I think you're leading us down the wrong road with all these new hires. And it sends a terrible message to the rank and file that you're fattening up the administrators and pushing them out to hang in the wind. I think you're a clever man because you figured out how to manipulate imbeciles 1 through 5. And that's not hard to do around here. But I'll give you credit for that. I looked at tonight's agenda and there's about 70 items on the agenda. How do you figure these people can digest each of those items and vote on those things intelligently? You loaded them up. And I wonder what you're trying to get past them. And I'm not impressed, Mr. McCoy, with what you've done by putting the meetings here permanently. You know, I'm a little bit visually challenged and audibly challenged in my old age, and I appreciate the quality of the production over at City Hall. We don't have it here. I watched your Saturday meeting recently, and I couldn't tell who was talking. It was grainy. The production quality is poor. And what you've done by moving it over here, by reducing the speaker's time, and you did something else that I'm not happy with. You fixed it so the people we elected can't even talk back to the people who elected them. And you're deceiving us because the Brown Act specifically allows for brief responses. And frankly, I got a kick out of Miss Weisberg losing her mind. It was a short drive for her to lose her mind. And I got a kick out of it because we elected these people. And I want to hear what they have to say. And when parents come and they have concerns about their children, and they're asking why you voting this way or that way, they can't. And Mr. McCoy, why are you sitting between 2 elected officials? In 40 years I'm coming, I've never seen a non-elected official sit in the center of the dais like that. I think you're out of line. I think you're power hungry. Remind me when the time goes off because I can't make out the time. I appreciate it. Thank you. I wonder what's next with you. Maybe you should charge for parking to come here to these meetings because you're just attempting to dissuade participation. And it doesn't sit well with me, and it's not a good look for you either. Okay. I've gone over all this. What's next, Mr. McCoy? When are you gonna put the kids first? When we're gonna have, when are you gonna get the scores up? Because all our kids are failing, these pesky state tests. We have them every year and the results are abysmal. That's what you should be focusing on. Mr. Easty here hiring his buddies, 2 people or him that he needs, you hiring people that you need. These are high paying jobs. They don't sit well. And like I said earlier, it doesn't sit well with the teachers who are clamoring for a raise. So what are you going to do about all that? And when you run out of money, don't come to us for another parcel tax. That's out of the question. The time for fiscal management is now. Follow me? People are suffering right now and with the cost of everything, and we don't need another parcel tax. So live within your means. Is that too much to ask? That's prudent. Don't take it personal, just do it. Live within your means. Do not come to us for a parcel tax.
Thank you, Mr. Schlossman. Thank you. Next I have Mary Ringhoff, followed by Alexandra Helfer. Oh, yeah, you need those. They can't just be community reading glasses.
My free glasses.
Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, President Ponser Kamkar, trustees, Dr. McCoy, and all district staff. My name is Mary Ringhoff. I am a BUSD parent of 2. Oh, I need to put my reading glasses on. And I'm a member of the Burbank chapter of Schools Beyond Screens. We're made up of parents, teachers, staff, PTA board members, and at this point, at least 1 member of Burbank City Council. Our mission is moving BUSD to a more thoughtful and intentional use of technology in the classroom. Now, you know us, we've already been in conversation with you. We're coming to talk to each of you individually, and we're hoping to speak with Dr. McCoy very soon. And you've all been very responsive and thoughtful, staff as well as the board. So we really feel like you're good partners in reevaluating the district's approach to ed tech. And the district has shown true willingness to make changes. This is best illustrated by the major change to Chromebook use in middle schools this year. Instead of take-home Google laptops being issued to every student, this year they will stay on carts in the classroom for use only as needed. So that means not at lunch, not at nutrition, not at passing periods, not before school, after school, in the middle of the night after the family computer has been turned off and it's a little secret. So families who do need a device at home will still be able to opt in for that, which we really appreciate. But we really just want to thank you so much for making this change. That said, we're not going to go away. We have other requests. We intend to hit the ground running this year, and we are very optimistic that we'll be able to work together to improve the learning experience for our kids. So to that end, I'd like to start with 3 basic requests. First, we request that the district convene a tech advisory committee to include teachers, parents, and digital literacy experts, as well as district staff. Second, we request that the district consider instituting a moratorium on AI use in the classroom until the privacy and safety concerns associated with this technology are better understood. Now, I know that students don't have access to chatbots like ChatGPT or Claude, but they do have access to Google AI-generated search engine results, which in my experience are usually wrong and impede the development of critical thinking skills. And third, we request that the board pass a resolution directing district staff to create a new instructional technology policy based on objective empirical research, not on the latest marketing materials from Silicon Valley. Recent studies have shown that screen use in schools is directly correlated with drops in test scores, which measure students' cognitive capability. Neuroscientist Jared Cooney Horvath, we're going to bring him up in every meeting, explained this issue in his testimony to Congress earlier this year. The issue is not intelligence, it is cognition, the way the human brain acquires, processes, and understands information. Horvath testified, quote, "Human attention systems evolved to sustain focus on a single task at a time. The prefrontal control system cannot reliably manage competing goal states without significant performance costs. Digital platforms are optimized for rapid switching, novelty, and continuous engagement capture. Even when used for academic tasks, they cue the same behavioral patterns students practice during recreational screen use: frequent checking, rapid scrolling, and multitasking. As a result, screens structurally train attentional habits that conflict with sustained learning. This is not a matter of discipline or willpower. It is a function of repeated conditioning," end quote. So I'm just going to wrap up with an invitation to you, to everybody here, anyone who's listening to this meeting, really anyone who might be interested in hearing more about shifting our schools to a more intentional use of technology, to an event that Burbank Schools Schools Beyond Screens is holding. We're having a back to school play date and meet and greet. Play date for kids, meet and greet for grown-ups on Sunday, August 16th from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. It's at a local park. The location is revealed when you RSVP to the invite for safety concerns. I emailed this to all of, to you and to district staff earlier today. Please feel free to share it with your networks and anyone you know who might be interested. And I want to say to everyone else in the room, if you email Burbank Schools Beyond Screens, we can send you a copy of this invite. It's burbanksbs@gmail.com. burbanksbs@gmail.com. We would love to send it to you. We would love to have as many people as possible there. I think this is going to be a great opportunity to hear from parents, teachers, and admin on the front lines of screen use in schools. I'm almost done.
Thank you, Ms. Ringhoff.
And an
We're
opportunity.
going to go ahead and stop. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Everybody have
much.
sense.
Take care. All right. Next, I have Alexandra Helfrich, followed by Les Cohen. Thank you.
Good evening, board members, staff, and community stakeholders. My name is Alexandra Helfrich. I'm here tonight to speak about item 8B, the budget calendar provided for your information earlier, and the critical importance of requesting a much more detailed development calendar. This is a template created by School Services of California, a well-respected source of support for school districts. I've brought copies for your consideration. There's one for, is it Dr. and Mr. Hasty, Dr. Hasty, Dr. McCoy, and each board member. Under the current circumstances, a comprehensive budget calendar is not just a bureaucratic exercise. It can be the backbone of ongoing responsible fiscal management and oversight. And by mapping out every major task, deadline, and responsible party from January through December, the board would have a critical tracking tool that can ensure that our district remains transparent, accountable, and proactive in meeting the needs of our students and staff, while fulfilling obligations for fiscal reporting and the fiscal stabilization plan. For example, in January, this calendar template calls for enrollment and staffing projections, fiscal stabilization planning, a position control audit, and a review of the governor's proposed budget. These early steps enable you to anticipate challenges early, align staffing with projected enrollment, and respond quickly to changes in state funding. In February and March, the template schedules budget workshops, cash flow updates, and collaborative meetings with school sites and departments. This allows every school and department to have a voice in the process for budget allocations based on real needs and up-to-date information so that decisions are not made in a vacuum. Throughout the year, the calendar template mandates regular cash flow reports, interim budget updates, and public hearings. These checkpoints keep the board and the public informed, foster trust, and allow for timely adjustments when our fiscal outlook changes. Importantly, a more detailed calendar can also track compliance with legal requirements, such as timely notifications for staffing changes, submission of audit reports, and public hearings for local control and accountability for the local control and accountability plan. It can help you protect our district from costly errors, missed LACO reporting deadlines, and uphold your commitment to transparency. This kind of detailed budget development calendar is essential for proactive planning and early identification of challenges, inclusive and collaborative decision-making, ongoing transparency and accountability, and legal compliance and risk mitigation. I urge the board to request a more effective and detailed budget calendar than the one submitted today, and to use it as a public roadmap for disciplined, transparent decision-making. You want to partner with us in a possible parcel tax in the future. This is one step in that direction. Fiscal responsibility is not demonstrated by reacting after problems appear. It is demonstrated by planning early, asking hard questions, monitoring progress consistently and openly, and ensuring that every budget decision is aligned with the needs of students, staff, and the long-term stability of the district. This is an opportunity for the board to demonstrate that financial accountability and transparency is the accepted standard.
Thank you, Ms. Helfrich. Next, I have Les Cohen, followed by Kelly Clark.
Good evening, board members, district staff, and those watching here and at home. My name is Les Cohen, and I'm a retired BUSD counselor. Last Saturday, I attended a board retreat where the main topic of discussion was good governance. Excellent presentations were made, and I would like to share with you some of the highlights as I saw them, particularly as they relate to accountability. I saw an especially good legal presentation on ethics given by an attorney who is a partner at the law firm that represents the BUSD. It concerned board responsibility and the public's need to know. It emphasized that the board must not avoid even the appearance of impropriety, not merely impropriety itself. Also addressed was transparency as the key to ensuring that elected officials are ethical in performing their public dealings. Emphasis was given to the board's need to follow a code of ethics that includes encouraging good ideas and opinions from stakeholders and then incorporating these ideas into decisions made by the board. As I see it, public input has been minimized by the current board. Conflicts of interest were discussed. This is a vitally important idea for this board to understand, especially since fraud to the tune of $93,000 was perpetrated by former board member Charlene Tabbitt. This fraud was a violation of multiple state laws and government codes, as well as board bylaws, not to mention the public trust. Interestingly, after the fraud occurred, board members explained their failure to detect it as a case of district employees being untruthful with them when questioned about it. The important thing to consider here is that employees don't lie to superiors they respect. They do lie to superiors they fear. The training also touched upon perks of public service, such as district employees having access to district credit cards and using them for personal expenses. We know this occurred in the case of a former district staff member. Transparency was discussed. This has been a frequent problem over the past 14 months, particularly as it relates to obtaining district records under the California Public Records Act. This law defines public records as being any writing that contains information relating to the conduct of public business by the district, regardless of physical form or characteristics, and includes personal devices. In addition, there should be no limits on public records requests based on purpose or motive if it doesn't disrupt BUSD operations. As per the legal presentation on Saturday, it appears that public information requests have not been complied with as per the law. The Brown Act was discussed. Violations of this act can result in significant penalties, including revocation of board decisions. In my understanding, changes to bylaw 9323 are being proposed tonight that would eliminate the board's traditional right to respond to public comment. I have to ask what necessitates this restriction. Finally, I would like to discuss the consequences of board members failing to follow laws, codes of conduct, and board policies. It seems to me that the board is not being held accountable for many violations by the appropriate government agencies. There is a natural solution, however. In a pertinent article that appeared in the Admired Leadership newsletter entitled "On the Best Teams, Accountability Comes from Peers, Not from Leaders," the solution is described in detail. In a nutshell, the article states, accountability is grounded in shared responsibility. Because they view themselves as responsible to each other, they naturally treat accountability as something team members do with or without a leader. Once the norm is established, members' greatest fear becomes letting
Thank
the
you, Mr.
team
Cohen.
and their teammates down.
Thank you, Mr. Cohen.
Thank you.
Okay, next I have Kelly Clark, followed by Daniel Hacking, and that is my last card. Okay, thank you, Ms. Clark. So then I have Daniel Hacking, which is my last card. Good evening.
Short podiums, really? Okay. Good evening, board members and Superintendent McCoy. I'm here to speak to item 12.1. That's the consideration of revision of Board Bylaw 9200, limits of board member authority. The revision provision in this draft, Board by Bylaw 9200 states, because her position as a board member may inhibit the performance of school personnel, the board member should inform the superintendent or designee before meeting with district employees. While I understand the intent is to maintain proper channels, avoid undue influence, I am concerned that this revision will restrict the rights of staff to communicate directly and privately with you, their elected representatives. Elected board members serve as a vital link between the community, including district staff, and the governance of our schools. By requiring board members to inform the superintendent or designee before meeting with employees, the policy will discourage open and honest dialogue. Staff may feel uncomfortable or fear reprisal if their desire to speak with a board member must be reported in advance. This will undermine trust and transparency and limit the ability of board members to fully understand the concerns and needs of those who are working directly with our students. For example, if a teacher or staff member wishes to share feedback or raise concern about district policy, the requirement to notify administration beforehand may deter them from speaking up. This could result in important issues going unaddressed and board members being less informed about the realities in our schools. I urge the board to revise this language so it clearly protects the rights of all staff to communicate directly and privately with their elected representatives without fear that their concerns will be monitored, reported, or discouraged. Strong governance depends on trust, transparency, and access to honest information from the people closest to students every day. A policy intended to clarify board authority should not have the effect of silencing staff voices or placing administrative oversight between employees and the officials elected to represent the community. Please do not adopt language that will chill open communication. Instead, affirm that staff may speak with board members privately, respectfully, and without retaliation. The actual wording in the new board policy says, this policy shall not inhibit board members from communicating regularly with district stakeholders. But I think it will. And I have to be honest, I actually agree with a lot of it because I think that order and structure and having a flat organization where people know who to go to when they have an issue is really important for an effective school district. However, without the trust and transparency, which you need to build first, you can't just dictate a policy like this that's going to shut down communication and make things more cloudy. Thank you very much. Have a great evening.
Thank you, Mr. Hacking. All right, we'll move to number 10, the superintendent's report. Dr. McCoy.
Thank you, President Poncer Kamkar, trustees, staff and guests, and welcome to the superintendent's report for August 6th, 2026. Just a few quick items. We've had a busy July, so it's been 6 weeks since I was able to get in the building, and we've had, I would say, more than 24 meetings with different community stakeholders, parents. We've met with students. We've met with some city council members. We're scheduling meetings with the city manager's team, with police department, and trying to get on the ground and meet as many people as we can in the community, and just listening and learning, but also trying to prioritize the do now in the district, which is to, as you've heard tonight, address the fiscal concerns over the past year. And one good news item I can offer in the superintendent's report is Dr. Macias has reported that enrollment is actually increasing at this time. So at this time, it looks like we're plus 80 students from last year's CBEDS report in October to today. Obviously, those numbers don't become official until October 1. However, we budgeted at a minus 75 enrollment. So we're anticipating a decline of 75. It looks like we're plus 80. So that swing would mean potentially another $2 million in income into the district, and will obviously continue to help reduce any deficit spending that would occur. Also, getting our new team members in place. What we've been finding is that we've been spending our way through some problems rather than problem solving. So we're hard at work to identify where those costs and outgoes can be reduced, and where especially agency employees and contracts can be replaced with CSCA members and VTA members. We've had great meetings this week with Burbank Teachers Association, and I want to thank President Sarah Schwartz and her team for inviting me to meet with the executive board on Tuesday, and inviting us to meet our new teachers in Burbank Unified, and a lot of good communications between Mr. LaBelle and CACA on outstanding issues. And we've been trying to address a lot of things that came through during the summertime, make sure summer is a time where we can catch up and make sure everyone is heard and understood. We've been working on childcare, and Director Stone is going to be taking that role and making sure that she's prioritizing the needs of our elementary schools and helping us make sense of the 7 different programs that are available to our community and how we communicate those. And we're, for the first time, offering free childcare for employees on our pre-service days, August 10, 11, and 12. So that's for all certificated, classified, and management employees. And so we've had a great sign up and Boys and Girls Club will be serving middle schools, and our team from Right at School will be serving elementary students. But really, I tell people who I meet in Burbank that this is an amazing place. Burbank's a destination. This district is a destination. There's been a lot of trauma over the last year and a half, a lot of hurt, a lot of things that have gone on that we need to keep front of mind, that people need support and people need to be okay. We had an all hands meeting today for the Olive Building, where all our employees in this building got together, and we talked about that. We talked about how really putting kids in the middle of the work is the primary function of this district and what we need to do. And we've also said sometimes what's good for kids is hard for grownups. And so we are really working toward pushing our students into the center of the work and making decisions, both at a governance level and a school site level, that benefit the kids in our care. We had a little discussion that our TKers at age 3 and 4 entering our district are going to graduate somewhere around 13 years from now. So that would put us in 2039, and they'll have a working life from 2040 to about 2075. I call that a wheelchair problem for me, because they're going to have to wheel me in a wheelchair for me to assist those students at that time period. But really, that speaks to the scope of the work and the importance of the work and the impact we have on a daily basis with our students and families. So our goal remains to put students and families first, to address our financial needs first and foremost, but to always work with kids in the center of the work and kids on our minds. So I am also just and I talked with Sarah, but wanted to let Laura Bauman know, we'll have the BTA and CSEA report back on the board agenda for August 20th. We are, as you may have seen, we're rebooting the format of our agenda, trying to make it more clear so people can follow along with the different categories of items. And then we're also trying to clean up Granicus in the back end. And we have a whole team of people that meet weekly here to try and make sure we have a clear board agenda that always goes out Friday before a Thursday meeting and always is clear and concise in terms of the information that we present. I want to thank each of the trustees who were able to take their own time to meet with me to review the agenda before the meeting and to ask great questions and help us understand what additional information they need in order to make decisions from the dais. So we're off to a great start. I am really thrilled to be in Burbank, and I have grown an understanding that there's no parking in the entire city. And so I've been working my way through that and helping to try and understand that. But it's really a phenomenal opportunity for me. I'm grateful to be your superintendent, and we're going to do a lot of good work together. And I want to appreciate all the different folks I've had a chance to meet in the last 6 weeks and all those that we're getting ready to meet as school starts. And a shout out to Stephanie Beauregard for making sure I'm doing all the things that I need to do during the day and for her help as we reorganize the board agenda. So that is tonight's superintendent report. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. McCoy. Are we also adding back the student board member reports?
Yes, we're going to add back the student board member reports, and the students will actually sit with us on the dais for their reports for beginning, I think September is their first meeting. So we already have the 3 student reps identified for Monterey ILA, for Burbank High School and John Burroughs High School.
Fantastic. All right. Can we do our public hearing on developer fees, even though it is 7 o'clock and not 7:30? Are we at approximately? Okay, got it. All right, we will move to 11A, our public hearing. All right, the Board of Trustees will now conduct a public hearing regarding the proposed increase in developer fees. Dr. Hasty is going to present the item.
Thank you. Education Code Section 17620, 17620, and Government Code Section 65995 authorize school districts to levy statutory developer fees on residential and commercial industrial construction to fund the construction and reconstruction of school facilities necessitated by new development. In January 2026, the State Allocation Board approved 4.06% biennial adjustment to the maximum statutory level 1 developer fees, increasing the residential rate from $5.17 to $5.38 per square foot, and the commercial industrial rate from 84 cents to 87 cents per square foot. The district contract with King Consulting prepared the developer fee justification study dated May 7th, 2026. The study supports the district's collection of the statutory level 1 developer fee rates and was presented to the board on June 25th, 2026. The developer fee justification study supports the following statutory level developer fees, which will be $5.38 per square foot of accessible space for new residential construction, 87 cents per square foot for chargeable, covered and enclosed space for new commercial or industrial construction, except mini storage, and $12 per square foot, or 12 cents, sorry, per square foot for chargeable, covered and enclosed space and mini storage construction. Notice of the public hearing was published in the Burbank Leader on July 25th and August 1st, 2026. The developer fee justification study and related documents were made available to public to review beginning July 27th, 2026, in accordance with applicable legal requirements. The public hearing provides interested parties an opportunity to provide oral or written comments regarding the proposed increase in statutory level 1 developer fees. Board action to consider adoption of the proposed fees will be presented under a separate agenda, the next agenda item. There's no fiscal impact at this point associated with conducting the public hearing.
Thank you, Dr. Hasty. The public hearing is now open. Would anyone like to provide public comment regarding the proposed increase in developer fees? I see one speaker coming. Welcome.
Think about what you're doing. Many years ago, I built some buildings and I paid the school fees. And we talk about affordable housing. We want affordable housing for our employees. I think it's good if our employees are district employees, policemen, firemen. I want them to be able to live in Burbank. But at every turn, you make things more expensive. So my feeling is construction is at a standstill essentially right now. There's a lot of ADUs going up everywhere. But guess what? If they're 500 feet or less, they're exempt. And people add on to their houses, 500 feet or less, exempt. So I don't think you have enough information in front of you from this little brief few words that were given to make a decision. You should be talking about how much money do you have put aside right now? What are you doing with the money? Have you used the money? These types of things. Is there a need to bring in more money to sit in an account? So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schlossman. Any other comments on our proposal for developer fees? Any additional members of the public who wish to comment? All right. Seeing none, the public hearing regarding the proposed increase or developer fees is now closed. And the board will consider resolution number 127, increasing developer fees under the next agenda item section, action item. So this is 12A. Dr. Hasty. I guess we're going to discussion on this one, or can I have a motion a second first, actually, please? Oh, he's going to present it. Got it.
Yeah, so again, a lot of repetitive things that we're going to say, but again, Education Code 17620 and Government Code 65995 authorize the school districts to levy the statutory developer fees. Following the public hearing, the board is being asked to consider the adoption of 127, Resolution 127, approving the developer fee justification study and increasing the district statutory level 1 developer fees to that $5.38 per square foot for residential construction, and 87 cents per square foot for commercial, and 12 cents per square foot for the storage. The revised fees will become effective October 5th, 2026. The fiscal impact. The residential developer fee will increase. Again, that's going from 517 to 538. But we're seeing, and that's an approximate increase of 4.06%, along with the 84 to 87 cents, we're looking at about 3.5%. Based on the projected future residential development identified in the developer fees justification study, the residential fee increase could generate up to 3.64 million in additional developer fee revenue over the study's 20-year planning horizon. Actual revenue will depend on the timing and amount of future development.
Great, thank you. First, let me get a motion in a second on this item. Anyone?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
All right, discussion. Dr. Weisberg.
Question for you, sir. So can you, I really appreciated the 30-page report, not the brief summary that we all read. That was very informative and helped me understand a lot. Can you talk a little bit, maybe in more layman's terms, about how standard is it that developer fees come up like this? And if we were to sort of summarize succinctly as to why we're doing it now and how it's going to benefit us, could you speak to that a little bit?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Typically every 2 years, the state allocation board will do their own study, and then you'll see the rates that will change. And so that's a typical cycle. And of course, as it does increase, it gives us a limit to go up to, not that we have to go up there. But again, that's where we can. So at this point, and again, the utilization of the funds, we already know when people are adding square footage in any capacity, they would have to pay the district a certain amount, the amount you'll see per square foot. And then, of course, that money goes into a separate fund that we have outside the general fund that has restriction. It is a restricted fund that has statutory limitations around it that are really have to be allocated for the purposes and or the effect of increased community or potential enrollment. So other things we can use it for throughout, like, for example, we're going to have the bungalows, the portables. We can definitely, that is a very allowable purchase to purchase the portables because the need for them is because of increased space, along with various slices of increased, modernization projects. So that's where we'll be using that money as well.
I think it could be really helpful hypothetically. So the two things that I'm taking away from that I think are really helpful are that this is standard practice and how the money will be used. So I don't know how we can communicate that to the public, but I think having an understanding of where the funds go and what specifically we can use them for, I think can be a very helpful piece of information as we communicate the fees going up a little bit.
I think that's a job for our new PIO.
There is a required report that will come in around December that will talk more about that.
Ms. Connor?
As somebody again who just had their house remodeled, I'm very aware of that, and they're saying, and there are those, as one of the speakers talked about, that don't go that far so that you don't have to. So it's publicly, it's spoken about with contractors. Now, right now, like similar city to similar district, I'm just thinking not only Unified but I'm thinking even Glendale. Have they gone, similar to us? Let me try it again. Would their developer fees be similar to ours, or would ours be similar to theirs? Or
They'd be similar.
Okay.
If they're doing the increase like this and taking it to board on a regular basis.
Okay, that's what I was gonna ask. If they're increasing theirs also then. All right. Because I guess sometimes worry, I'm like, I don't want people to go, oh, well, we don't want to have to pay this fee, so we'll build it in Glendale. Okay, thanks.
Dr. Agakanian, did you have something?
Yes. So when was the last time we had an increase?
I want to say 2023, or it could have been 2024, the year before. Before I was here.
Anything else on this item? All right. We have a motion from, I just had one question on it, which was, so how do our projections for this money impact our budget? So I got a comment from someone saying that we were the most optimistic people in Burbank looking at the projection for how much square footage was actually going to be built. And so I'm curious how that amount that we're thinking will be generated actually gets built into our budget.
Yeah, so it's built outside the general fund because it's in, I believe, Fund 25. It's not in the general fund. So again, we use it to supplement the various bond and construction projects for modernization over time. And then we can do that for purposes of if we have any increased enrollment or increased programming that we need to do that is correlational to the, for the new build. So again, if we're having any type of construction in Burbank, we can correlate the construction as needed for modernization purposes. Again, that would be supplemental to something like the bond program and or other projects that we could use that would be for these purposes. And it would not have an impact on the general fund.
Great.
And I can add to that and just say that the fund is such that when developers contribute the money, it goes into the account. And simply put, if it's available, we can tie it into a project that we already have approved, or especially our projects in our schools where we're replacing a portable building because it's old, but we don't budget for that amount of money that you've heard in the presentation because it is dependent on those developments coming to fruition. So and we can only increase these fees when the state allocation board takes an action that allows us to increase the fees. And then so that's why the pace of play you've seen is about every 3 to 5 years, depending on what's happening in Sacramento.
Thank you. Ms. Connor?
Dr. Hasty, I think I thought I asked you this earlier this week, or maybe you didn't. I forgot what the answer was. But because these don't come in just as a, like we said, a projected that we know it's for sure going to come in. It comes in when it comes in.
As different companies might be doing construction and or residents are doing. construction.
Exactly. So is there any way that we can have just kind of like even a, I don't know, a quarterly or something like, oh, we actually got some developer fees that
Absolutely.
we could,
It's easy. Yes.
yeah, okay, thank you.
That'd be part of our miscellaneous receipts report, or no? It would be. All right. It was moved by Ms. Cono, seconded by Dr. Weisberg to approve resolution 127. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. 12B, consideration of approval of agreement with Christy White for annual financial audit services. Dr. Hasty.
The Burbank Unified School District is completing a final year of its current agreement for independent auditing services and conducted a competitive request for proposals or RFP process to select a firm to provide future annual financial auditing services. Following evaluation of the proposals received, Christy White Incorporated was identified as the highest ranked firm based on the criteria established in the RFP. The proposed agreement provides the independent financial auditing services beginning with the 26-27 school year. Fiscal impact, the total cost over the 3 years is $313,126 funded through the general fund. Year one will be at $99,325, and we see about a 5% increase each year. And year two will be 104. 293,000, and year three, 109, 508,000. It is the recommendation of the district administration that the Board of Trustees approve the agreement with Christy White Incorporated for annual financial audit services as presented.
Thank you so much. Can I get a motion in a second? Thank you. Discussion. Dr. Weisberg.
That's this a lot, but sort of in the org chart of people that we're using to help us navigate the bond, to navigate some of our FCMAT issues. So where does this sit?
Yeah, this is a foundational piece of what every district has to have, and it's a statutory requirement for a financial audit for the district. So these are critical partners and a tool that we must use. And Christy White has a great reputation. They work with multiple districts. Based on our scoring, we looked at not only cost, but just performance. And they also have a really good portal that's for uploading the documents that also keeps the documentation year after year. So we have a lot of continuity with them. So as far as importance, yes, they're very important and required.
Great, thank you.
Other discussion? The question that I had to Dr. Hasty during agenda review was just that my understanding is that it's best practice that any organization, but including school districts, change their auditor every 3 to 5 years is my understanding. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay, great. So this is not a knock on our previous auditor. This is just best practice. Great. So I've got a motion by Dr. Iaconi, a second by Ms. Cano to approve the agreement with Christy White. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. 12C, consideration of approval of agreement with CWDL for annual measure ABC performance audit. Dr. Hasty.
The district is completing the final year of its current 3-year agreement for independent auditing services. In preparation for the expiration of the current agreement, the district conducted a competitive, another RFP, request for proposal process to procure independent auditing services for both the district's annual financial audit and Prop 39. So what we did is we ran one RFP, but we selected 2 different auditors, one for each different function. The first one was Christy White, which was for for the district. And this one is going to be for our Prop 39 measure ABC financial audit and performance audit. Following review of the evaluation proposals received, CWDL, Certified Public Accountants, was determined to be the firm best qualified to provide the district's Proposition 39 financial and performance auditing services for Measure ABC. You'll see a total cost over 3 years is $27,336. That will be paid out of the Measure ABC bond funds. Year one is at $8,575. Year two, $9,103. And year three, we see $9,658. It is recommended is the recommendation of district administration that the Board of Trustees approve the agreement with CWDL for the annual measure ABC financial and performance audits as presented.
I get a motion in a second.
Second.
Discussion. How does this interact with some of the financial work that we have vendors doing on the bond in terms of tracking use, et cetera? Or is this all going to be CWDL working with internal staff?
They would work with internal staff. However, I think key analytics.
Yes.
So they would be providing us various artifacts that would support the auditing process. And so they are, again, they keep that continuity over time by having our different expenditure reports, monitoring and helping us with those expenditure reports through their process. But again, they would be able to present many of those items that would then be turned over to the auditor when we're being asked, when we're going through the auditing process.
And the audit itself, I'm just going to ask, since I can't pull it up right this second, is because it's a bond audit, is it paid for out of bond funds?
Correct. Yes.
But the previous one is general fund.
The previous one is general funded. Yes. Christy White.
Thank you so much. All right. Any other, Ms. Kano?
Just CWDL, is that any association though with Christy White?
No.
Oh, okay. Because I was like, CW, I'd look, yeah, okay.
You will see the name again later, though.
Yeah, yeah, I know.
All right, great. I've got a motion from Dr. Akani, a second from Dr. Weisberg to approve the agreement with CWDL. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 4-0. 12D, consideration of approval of agreement with Parent Square for home to school communication. Dr. Hastings.
Burbank Unified School District has identified the need for a comprehensive integrated communication platform to enhance communications and engagement with students, families, staff, and the community while supporting district attendance monitoring and intervention efforts. The proposed agreement with Parent Square Incorporated provides the district with a unified communication platform designed for K-12 school districts, along with Attendance Plus to support attendance monitoring, communication, and intervention. The agreement includes implementation and a phased district-wide rollout beginning during the 26-27 school year, with services continuing through June 30, 2030. Fiscal impact: the total cost of the agreement shall not exceed $409,725 for the period of July 1, 2026 through June 30th, 2030, funded through the Technology and Information Services General Fund budget and subject to annual appropriations. Implementation, you'll see there a prorated year for the 26-27 is that 58,000, 27-28, we see 110, and then 28-29, 114, and then 29-30, we see 125. It is the recommendation of the district administration that the Board of Trustees approve the agreement with Parent Square Incorporated for district-wide communication and attendance management platform as presented.
Thank you. Can I have a motion and a second? Discussion? Dr. Weisberg?
This may not be the time to discuss my question, but I'm going to bring it up because it's Parent Square related. Just want to get some clarification on, so this is a big change because right now we're using how many?
100 million.
1 trillion billion ways of communicating at our school sites, which I think is easy to understand why it's problematic for myriad reasons. So I think we're excited to move to one, but I wanted to know, and again, this is why I think it might not be here. How are we going to be communicating and rolling that out to our parents and to, I know there's been sort of like a soft rollout. It's been discussed, but like, I anticipate there being a little bit of,
pushback,
gentle fear.
Well, gentle's a good word to start with. So, so what our intention is with the Parent Square agreement and the reason why there is a rollout during the fall, August to December, and then a launch in January, is that we're going to build capacity at the school sites to understand how to sunset the array of current programs and products that anywhere from schools to individual teachers are using to help communicate with parents. The public information officer who's just joined the team will be the point of contact and will be the trainer of our site personnel once he's trained. And we'll also have some Dr. Anders, James Avery with the system integration that'll also be participating in the Parent Square trainings and probably a couple of key principles so they can work with their colleagues as peers. But essentially what Parent Square allows us to do is real-time communication home to school. Parents can opt in to email, text, or phone calls. It translates instantly in 155 languages. So if and it talks to our student information system. So if you're enrolled your child and your home language is Armenian, your messages will come to you in Armenian automatically. We'll write them in English. They'll translate on the back end and deliver in Armenian to those families. If a parent responds to a teacher in Armenian, Parent Square will translate that back into English for the teacher to receive. It also allows for two-way communication on attendance. And in crisis communications, and then parents can opt when to receive the messages. So if they have a child at elementary, middle, and high school, they could opt into, let's say, all messages from all schools land in their text messages at 6 p.m. However, if we're in an emergency, we have an override feature in Parent Square where we call that the digest setting. We can override the digest and send an instant message to one school, a group of schools, or to the entire district. So if we had an emergency, for example, most districts have some experience with this, for better or for worse. If we're closing schools because of a wildfire, I, as the superintendent, can, from an app on my phone, send an instant message to every parent and student and staff at the same time to let them know what we're doing, how to pick up their child. And so, and it's all in one place. And then, so we will have some more information coming to the board about the savings we'll realize from sunsetting these different programs. But it's really a one-stop shop. And when we get everyone trained and up and running, then a fun fact for a public information officer is he'll actually be able to see every message that goes out. And so if we have any over communication challenges, he'll be able to work with those schools individually to make sure that we're following the recommended training protocols. But it's going to be a great tool for Burbank Unified.
Dr. Agakanian.
Thank you. So in terms of messaging, who authorizes the messaging? So when there's no crossover and when before the final message goes out?
So at each site, the principal will be the final decision maker in terms of when messages go out. At the district level, all the messages will come from my office, or I'll specifically task an assistant superintendent to deliver that message. Also, teachers will be able to individually message students in their classrooms. So teachers will be able to decide to message the whole class. Projects are due tomorrow. They can also message individual parents. And we see as the teachers build their training skill set, it's also a good place where we send positive messages home. We say, Dr. Hasty was great today, and we're looking forward to seeing him tomorrow. So it's a way to track positive messages out for our teachers to students. And then, but as the building principal will be responsible, and district-wide be the superintendent.
Go ahead.
I assume this is a friendly app that people can download on their phones?
Yes,
It's not a website.
No, it's in the both versions of the App Store, the Apple and the Android.
Thank you.
Ms. Khan.
Okay, just so I'm clear, so this then, we're going to be sunsetting out things like Blackboard, Class Dojo, Aries?
Not Aries.
No, not Aries, not Aries.
Yeah,
But
we're-
it's still doing, oh, okay, so it'll work in tandem with Aries then?
Correct.
For attendance.
Yeah, it has a system integration with Aries. So where it picks up the information to call, text, and email is it communicates with Aries on the back end. And so if it also will give us a report, for example, of phone numbers and emails that are no longer contactable. So if we're getting a message returned from an email, it'll give us a list, the principal and then the district, where then we can call families and say, hey, we're trying to reach you. Have you updated your phone number? Have you updated your email? And it'll give us a percentage on a daily basis of how many of our families are contactable.
So is that going to happen? Because I'm thinking that's one of the big problems I know I have personally with Blackboard. When I send things out and it doesn't go out, and then I look and it's like, it's there, it's not. And then I talk to the kid, they go, oh yeah, my mom changed her phone number. You're like,
Yeah, so it'll tell us which phone numbers are not working.
okay. And then, so will that happen at the district and then they're going to contact the school and tell them, or that just goes updated in the system?
Yeah. Typically, that'll go to our IT team
Okay.
and the public information officer, and we'll have a path of travel for that information to go to the office managers and the principals so that they can hear from a familiar face that, hey, we're not able to contact you right now.
Okay. And then just two more questions. One then, in going with the phone numbers, will it be a number that parents can actually identify? Because one of the problems again I've had with Blackboard is it always comes in a different one, like to fake parents out. so that I don't know why. And so the parents just a lot of times like you just go up to go to voicemail. So they're not getting them.
Yeah, in my experience, the phone will say Burbank Unified School District, just like it pops up when someone's in your contacts. But most parents were finding select email or text. And so they don't have to receive the phone calls if they don't want to receive the phone calls. All the messages are designed to be in all three formats.
Great. And I think that'll help as a parent and as a teacher. I think it'll help that idea of not blocking it since it's not an unknown number that's going to be coming through. And then, the last question now, if I'm a teacher, I teach, TK kinder, and I still want to do Class Dojo, can I just still do the free version of it then? Or can I do that? Or you just want to, no?
So we'll be a work in progress. We're not going to remove tools that are critical from teachers' classrooms.
Okay.
But we hope that they see value in a more ease of use and a better user experience for them and for their families over time.
Thank you.
Ms. Conant, that was a question I asked about because I know that there are teachers who use it for their classroom management and behavior like goals and things like that. We're big on the points, big on going to the treasure chest. How was Parent Square chosen over other alternatives?
So several of us have used Parent Square before, so I've been using it the last 11 years. We were an early adopter probably in the first couple of years that it came out. And I think Muir Middle School actually piloted Parent Square about 3 or 4 years ago and had some success, but because there wasn't a district-wide adoption, they ended up going back to Blackboard.
I think I would imagine the generally best practice on this kind of stuff is to do a RFP, right? I mean, that's what we just did for our auditors, but I also understand that people have real lived experiences with these apps that might be more helpful than going down a checklist.
Yeah.
I'd love to know how you made that decision.
Yeah, and I think Dr. Hayes could speak to that because not all products we purchase are required to have a request for proposal.
Correct. This service is not required to do the RFP. And again, Parent Square is very unique in what it offers. So again, there was not a requirement to do the RFP for this, and it wouldn't be typically for a software program of this nature.
Even with the level of, even with $100,000, over $100,000?
Yeah, the threshold doesn't apply to this purchase.
Interesting. I know that there were principal meetings. I don't know if this came up during there, but I would love to hear if there was feedback, good or bad, during those meetings.
We've just given principals the initial information because the contract wasn't approved.
Okay.
If the contract's approved tonight, then we're going to create a training plan and a work plan to help principals get onboarded and have our IT team and our Aries team start to work with the Parent Square technical staff to start to share the data. So we're not making any moves ahead until we have board approval.
Ms. Kano?
Dr. Hasty, why with the contract in terms of over the years, does the price go up?
That's typical on most contracts. And I actually did push back on escalation. That's part of my negotiation because they did have contract language that was much higher than the escalation you see. I want to say they were pushing for a final year of going up around 11 or 15%. And so I did push back on that and I wanted to keep it steady so we can budget accordingly.
Yeah, we're not getting 11 or 15% from the state, so. Okay, anything else to discuss on Parent Square? All right, it was moved by Dr. Agakanian, seconded by Ms. Kano, to approve the agreement with Parent Square for home to school communication. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Motion passes 3-1. 12E, consideration of approval of agreement with Fagan Freeman and Full Frost LLP. Dr. Hastings.
So the district utilizes Fagan Friedman and Full Frost LLP to provide specialized legal services in matters requiring expertise in education law. During the 26-27 fiscal year, the district anticipates utilizing the firm primarily for special education legal services, including advice related to the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, IDEA, Section 504, due process matters, compliance, student placement issues, and representation and begin administrative proceedings as needed. The cost of this agreement shall not exceed $500,000 and will be funded through the general fund. It is the recommendation of district administration that the Board of Trustees approve the agreement with Fagan, Friedman, and Full Frost LLP as presented, also known as F3 Law.
Can I get a motion in a second?
All right, so move.
Thank you. Discussion, Dr. Weisberg?
Similar question. Can you just help frame, I know it says what we're using them for, but can you talk a little bit about what this might replace? It's been a huge discussion, the amount of legal fees that we've had to pay. So if you can sort of center it for us, that would be great.
Yeah, I can speak to that. So we have particular legal counsel at F3 that have deep experience in special education. And they have deep experience also advising districts on how to avoid litigation and avoid due process before filings are happening. So this is going to be part of our effort in special education to reduce costs by creating more high quality IEPs, making sure that accommodations are provided and that we're not having to provide compensatory services through due process agreements. So we have several cases right now that will be re-examined by the attorney from this firm who's going to work with the district. And it's part of our overall effort to engage in cost savings and sort of rehoming our expenses in special education.
So could you speak just a little bit to, is this replacing another firm that we've previously been using for special education? I just want people to have a better understanding. We're not just adding.
Yeah, over time, yes.
Right. So this won't be
Yeah, we can't talk about the different legal cases from the dais, but what we would say is we are trying to make sure that we're bringing some folks who can give a fresh look to everything we're doing to make sure that we're on the right track.
And I don't think it would be a particular case they would replace on it. It would just
No.
be new cases they would be taking over. Is that right?
Can I ask one?
Yeah, there may be some current cases we would move and but also we have, as you've noted, we have several different firms that provide special education services. And over time, our goal is then to reduce those providers.
My last follow-up to that is, do you have a sense of timeline on when we think we'll be able to sort of start to step back from some of the firms, so we're not doing? You can say no too.
I would say that we're going to be in work in progress on these issues through 26, 27.
Okay.
Our goal would be when we present to the adopted budget in June of 2027, that we've done a lot of housekeeping on these issues and are able to really articulate the savings that we're engendering for the following budget year.
Dr. Arakanian?
Thank you, Madam President. I think we had a bit of a discussion about this, but I think also looking at past practices, I think we can convey a message to this law firm that we would like to see patterns, but attorneys who are basically using the same cases, same individuals. And I think it'll be great if we start really looking, fighting some of these just based on what we've seen. So I hope we can convey that message as well, because it is important not to just say, well, we're going to settle because this is how we've done it. And some of us already seen some of these cases, same client, same attorney, same timing, over and over. So I hope we can convey that message.
Yes, that'll be within our goals.
Any other discussion on this item? Okay. Moved by Dr. Arakanian, seconded by Ms. Kano to approve 12E. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Next is 12F under Human Resources, consideration of approval of declaration of need for fully qualified educators for 26-27 school year. Mr. Lavelle.
The Declaration of Need for Fully Qualified Educators is an annual form submitted to the California Commission on Teacher Credentialing in order to justify the need for emergency and limited assignment permit requests. The Declaration of Need is established by California Code of Regulations 80026. The Declaration of Need must be approved annually by the governing board for the employment of certificated personnel in the areas and numbers attached. There may be insufficient number of certificated persons who meet the district's specified employment area. The declaration of need for highly qualified educators shall remain in force for the 26-27 fiscal year, and it shall be valid for only the type or types attached that may be revised by the Burbank Unified School District as needed. There is no cost to the district associated with the declaration of need. It is the recommendation of district administration that the Board of Trustees approve the declaration of need for fully qualified educators for the 2006-2027 fiscal year as presented.
Thank you, Mr. LaBelle. Can I have a motion in a second?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Just Dr. Weisberg.
Mr. LaBelle, I think this is a question that comes up a lot from our community members. So when we talk about, this is the same thing that comes up often with, emergency credentialing, that we're just sort of allowing people into classrooms who aren't qualified to be in classrooms. And I just want to have you clarify that's not what this is.
No, this is a backup in case of an emergency.
Thank you.
And we are very highly qualified. It's used very rarely.
Yes, thank you.
Other discussion?
No, ma'am.
Okay. It's been moved by Dr. Weisberg, seconded by Dr. Arkanian to pass 12F. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. All right, 12G, consideration of approval of teacher assignments for 26-27 per education code. Mr. LaBelle.
Sorry. California has a number of provisions within the education code that provide avenues for assignment of certificated employees outside their basic credential authorization. The education code options allow local school districts the flexibility to assign teachers to teach subjects other than those authorized by credentials held. Working cooperatively to ensure that the district meets the requirements of the law, school site administrators, and human resources staff monitor each teacher's subject area assignments and credential authorizations. The Burbank Unified School District always seeks to hire fully credentialed teachers to teach all subjects. When credentialed teachers are not available, or when there is not a credential offered in a particular subject, some teachers are assigned classes that are outside their credential authorizations. Several options are available to local education agencies to authorize these assignments.
Thank you, Mr. LaBelle. Can I have a motion in a second? Thank you. Any discussion on this item? Dr. Weisberg.
Same thing, my friend. If you could just speak a little bit about what this means for somebody who might not have seen it before.
Absolutely. So this is in cases such as your math teacher who is also a coach. They're not credentialed to teach that PE class, so they're allowed an exemption for one period. Also, some classes such as yearbook might not fall into a certain class. So there are things like that. Homeschool, alternative ed, those options.
I was going to say, I see former teachers of the year here, and we know that they are highly qualified. Any other discussion on this item? Okay. It was moved by Dr. Arkanian, seconded by Ms. Kano. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. 12H, consideration of ratification of agreement for professional services with Sign Up LLC for ASL interpretation.
Pursuant to Board Policy 3312, the Board of Education's designee may contract with consultants to provide services with district staff is not able to provide. The district has contracted with Sign Up Interpreting LLC to provide sign language interpreting, and dictation to employees as needed. The amount of the agreement is not to exceed $200,000. It is a recommendation of district administration that the Board of Trustees ratify the agreement for professional services with Sign Up Interpreting Services LLC for ASL interpretation as presented.
Thank you. Can I have a motion and a second? Discussion? Dr. Weisberg.
It won't be a surprise what I'm going to ask. So, this comes back to the conversation we've been having ad nauseum for a couple of years, in regards to, agency. I mean, obviously we don't have enough bandwidth in district to cover all translation issues, but last year alone, 3-4 different, companies, and the amount went from, not to exceed $200,000 to well over $1 million by the end of the year. And so there's just a lot of hesitation, or not hesitation. Obviously the need is there and we have to meet the need, but I am worried about how are we tracking when it's needed? We've heard about instances where a student is absent for the day and they still send an interpreter who then has to be paid for multiple hours, that we often don't use interpreters who are closer to us. So then we pay for even sometimes hotel and travel. And so, yeah, I want to make sure that all of our students are supported, but it was next to impossible last academic year to really understand if we were doing this responsibly. So there's some fear in my end of like, how many of these are we going to see? And how are we going to better track it?
Excellent point. So for this and item I and some items on the consent calendar tonight, we're recommending approval because these are tied immediately to services provided to students. We're so happy to have Ms. McIntosh joining us, and one of her tasks is to look at all our agency agreements and contracts, and without ever reducing the provision of services to students that are that have those accommodations and modifications in their individual education program. We need to have more sense making, as you've noted, with what our agency service providers, who they are, who they provide for, and what is our capacity working with Mr. LaBelle, Ms. McIntosh, Dr. Hasty, and Dr. Macias as a team to develop internal employees. We can tell you, and I know that you know, that deaf and hard of hearing program and American Sign Language interpreting is one of the most difficult internal positions to fill, because there are those programs at the college level and the community college level sometimes aren't experiencing the enrollment to meet the needs of the deaf and hard of hearing community. And so we will be in touch with our DHH parents and advocates to make sure that we have an understanding of not only how the service is being provided, but what their experience is, and are there different entities that we should no longer contract with because they're not providing this service in the way that's most efficient and effective for students. So we hear your concern 100%. This is the work of this year, is, again, as we've said, to not spend our way through problems, but to identify problems that can be solved, and then bring you reasonable requests around an ongoing budget item. And I was here to see a lot of those contract increases the district had to approve, quote unquote, at the end of the year, because those services were increasing and the contracts were static. And so that is a priority of our cabinet group. And then we will be reporting back to you on this topic around our interim budget reports. So our goal would be at first interim to have our special education student services team provide an initial update to you on where we are on agency agreements, and to provide you some reassurance that as we go in January to June, that we, knock on wood, will not be coming back to you for increases to these agreements.
Dr. O'Connor?
Thank you. And to Dr. Weisberg's point, I think now that we have some new individuals are going to be starting also setting up systems where we're constantly tracking, not only the services, but also, when it comes to feedback, it's also important. So now that we have a PIO, is the feedback from the community going to go to the PIO, the Soundis program? Because it is important to hear, what works and what doesn't. And I think it will make the job of the new administrators easier as well.
Yeah, and it'll come in, another primary way that feedback will come will be through the Special Education Parent Advisory Committee.
Okay.
So one of the great plans Ms. McIntosh has is to increase the number of times we're meeting with those parents and groups, and to really hear from them about their experiences, and to give that direct feedback to our teams, so that we could bring that feedback back to trustees as we address these problems. I met with a few, and I want to say more than 2 or 3 special education parents since July 1, who requested just to tell me their own stories about their experience, and how in their mind we could definitely do improvement to how we're interacting with parents and families, and that goal is top of mind. So what we will have is, this won't be primarily a function of the PIO, although he will obviously assist in in communication with board items, but it'll really be a function of our new and developing team in special education and student services.
Ms. Khanna.
So I'm just thinking in the future, if, because exactly what Dr. Weisberg was asking is, I know that was, I think, my top question, but can we kind of expand this? And I'm thinking, is it the possibility in the future of having some type of, I don't know, even a chart with an overview of all the different agencies we use? Because right now, I was looking for one, I thought, oh, who do we use for this? And having to go through back through all the minutes and try to find. So if, just in the future, my request would be, could we get something of a chart, like what are we using for the deaf and hard of hitting? What are we using for the different, what are we using for this group and that? And then I really like the idea in terms of that with the SPED advisory committee, coming up and kind of giving us Yelp reviews in terms of, so that idea of, which are really working well for the children that they're seeing also, in addition to what all the educators are seeing is they're having success with.
Yeah, our goal would be to provide you those reports at the first interim and second interim budget as progress reports. And then as we get healthier and we get more time on task on these items, when we bring to you an adopted budget in June, we should have slides and information on what those agency contracts look like for the upcoming year. The good news is every contract that comes our way is now going through Dr. Hasty, and he's literally reading every contract page by page, word by word, and then making sure that we're not renewing contracts that are not financially putting the district at a financial disadvantage, because we know every dollar matters. And as we build the team, again, that's top of mind, which, to your point, we will have those reports for you.
I just have a quick, so first, I definitely wrote down, so now you're on the hook for a SPED report on agency
Understood.
agreements in December. Or even just the progress toward kind of where we're at on it. Because we've been waiting. And so I'm really looking forward to kind of untangling that. As information, I think I have two kind of mechanical questions, which are, I think these are both for employee services. Is that right? Okay. And so the student services for interpreting come through separate agenda items. Is that right? And Mr. LaBella is nodding. And have we used Sign Up LLC before? That is a new name to me, but it's possible that I've just missed them in my long list.
To my knowledge, both of these have been used before.
Okay, great. So this is for employee services. So for our deaf and hard of hearing employees, not just the ones that serve our deaf and hard of hearing students. So we have different approvals for serving our employees that are deaf and hard of hearing, our students and families that are deaf and hard of hearing, right? And those students and families would go through the same approvals. Is that right? Okay. I wanted to make sure that I was understanding, because 90,000 for Alpha, which I think last year ended up being 1.3, but that was for on the student and family side, right? I know we're getting there next, but I just wanted to make sure I was getting all the pieces right in my brain. Dr. Weisberg.
I do want to say that what I hope no one is taking away from this conversation is that we're prioritizing money over supporting our students. What we're saying is, I don't think we've done a particularly good job at either thing. And I really want to make sure that we do exceptionally well at making sure we keep the main thing, but that we're also fiscally responsible about it. The other thing that we should put somewhere is, I don't know how possible this is, but another piece of feedback, anecdotal, but that we received quite a bit was our agency hires sort of sitting on the phone in a classroom, not doing what they were being paid to do, which put a huge amount of pressure on our classroom teachers. So I guess the other question I would have is, when we do have agency hires, which is inevitable to some degree, how are we going to be overseeing, managing, mentoring, training, whatever it is that's reasonable, to make sure that we are actually getting really qualified people to do right by our students and our staff.
Yeah, so I won't get too far off topic, but what I'll tell you is that we've been working with our internal folks, our school principals, our assistant principals, and we will begin working with teacher leadership to let us know when we have these conditions in our classrooms, because we want to take action and we want to take it as quickly as we can. And if there have been times when, and we've heard this from several employees at all levels, where they've reported on these issues and then nothing has continued to happen. And so really what our best practice is, we colloquially call it getting in the middle. So we're going to get in the middle of it as soon as we hear about it. We're going to go observe it ourselves as central office administration. And we're really creating a mantra that central office is a center of service to the school sites. And it's the good work of so many people at our school sites behind the scenes here at Olive that have kept us moving during our crisis. And it's a testament to their care for the kids that that we're able to have a starting place. That's pretty significant this year. But this speaks to our change in response and our priority in response. And so like I'm working on a couple of special ed cases myself. I'm working on a couple of childcare registration issues just to make sure people can get signed up. And I know my message is, if I can answer the phone, if I can contact a parent, if I can help someone get registered, we all can do that. And I hope to lead that and model that.
Great. Anything else on 12H? All right, it was moved by Dr. Arcanian, seconded by Ms. Kano to approve 12H. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 4-0. 12I, consideration of ratification of agreement for professional services with Alpha Interpreters. Mr. Lavelle.
Pursuant to board policy 3312, the Board of Education's designee may contract with consultants to provide services that the district staff is not able to provide. The district is required to provide interpreting services to employees. The services include interpretation of American Sign Language for employees who attend professional trainings and meetings. The California Fair Employment and Housing Act requires employers to provide reasonable accommodations to employees with disabilities, including communication access through interpreters. Similarly, the Federal Americans with Disabilities Act mandates that employers and public institutions ensure effective communication with deaf and hard of hearing individuals, which often includes the provision of qualified American Sign Language interpreters. Hiring interpreters for the deaf and hard of hearing is not only a best practice in deaf education, but also a necessary step to comply with these legal mandates. Failure to provide appropriate accommodations can result in legal liability and undermine the district's commitment to equity and inclusion. The amount of this agreement is not to exceed $90,000. It is a recommendation of district administration that the Board of Trustees ratify the agreement for professional services with Alpha Interpreters or ASL interpretation as presented.
All right, can I get a motion a second? Second. Thank you. Discussion? I'm going to go with Ms. Kano. Yeah, you're ready. She's just always ready with a question.
Mr. Bell, can you just help me understand the difference then between sign up and Alpha? Because again, this is that we get that side by side, and they're both for employees. So what does one do? Because I think last year one was like they would travel and the other one was there for litigation. I think that's it would super help me to understand.
My understanding is that one of these services is one of our employees has used them previously, and we're respecting that.
Sorry, one more time.
My understanding is that one of our employees has had a relationship with this group.
Okay.
Is comfortable with them.
Okay.
So we're respecting that request.
Got it. All right. Any other questions?
Good, and they, like I said, they gave a good Yelp review. Then why don't we do all with that one company then?
What I would say to that question is that's part of our work to determine how we can get the number of contracts that we're offering minimized. But also, I can tell you that with American Sign Language interpretation, there are times when even these agencies run out of folks. So usually we have more than one group on the books because if sign up is our only group and they're deployed across our SELPA or across our region and we have a need, then we can go to the other company that we have an agreement with.
Anything else? Dr. Weisberg?
Could we get, not now, just, I don't know how many staff we have that require this service. It would just be great to know. I know I can think of one teacher and I don't need that answer right now. So
We
please,
can get you that information.
Great. Thank you. Okay, 12I, consideration of ratification for agreement, was moved by Dr. Agakanian and seconded by Ms. Kano. All those in favor say aye.
I,
Any opposed? Motion passes 4-0. All right, board policies. 12J, consideration of adoption of board bylaw 9271 Code of Ethics. Dr. McCoy.
Thank you, President. Sorry. Thank you, President Ponser Kamkar, trustees, staff, and guests. Before the board is consideration of adoption of board policy 9271, the Code of Ethics. The district administration is recommending approval of the Code of Ethics before you. Based on the discussion at our special meeting board retreat on Saturday, we have hand walked in the updated backup document with updated strike throughs and new language in blue per our discussion. The big highlights of the changes were reordering the Code of Ethics commitments on commitment number 4, community, striking the paragraph and replacing it with each board member serves as an ethical steward of public trust and taxpayer dollars, holding responsibility to all students, family, staff, and community members of the district. This responsibility extends beyond those who elected them or any organization to which they belong or supported their election. We also added under the Code of Ethics responsibilities bullet points under bullet 2, which discusses conflict of interest. We added, for greater detail, please refer to Burbank Unified School District Board Bylaw 9270, conflict of interest, which has great detail on the conflict of interest, particularly in regards to the training the board received on Saturday. So we're happy to present this for consideration of adoption.
Okay, can I get a motion and a second first?
so moved.
Discussion.
I just wanted to thank,
Dr. Weisberg, go ahead.
sorry. I just wanted to thank staff and the superintendent for being so open to all the changes and the conversation. I thought that the conversation on all of these board policies was really robust and important. So just a thank you because we fired back with a lot of suggestions. And I just appreciated the back and forth.
Agreed. Anything else for discussion? Ms. Connell?
No, but I also do appreciate that you did take what we said, because there's certain times that the board policy is there, but it's just bigger, so that you just made the mention there. So the person will refer, so it's not a 500 page.
That's correct.
Yeah, great, perfect.
And this is a brand new policy, not a revision.
That's correct. This is a new policy for the district.
We did not previously have a code of ethics. Isn't that interesting? Okay. If there's no further discussion, it was moved by Dr. Weisberg and seconded by Ms. Kano to approve 12J, Board Bylaw 9271. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. So much. 12K, consideration of revision of Board Bylaw 9270, conflict of interest.
Thank you, President Ponser Kamkar, trustees, staff, and guests. Before the board is consideration of revision of Board Bylaw 9270, conflict of interest. Similarly to our previous policy, based on the board's discussion, we have hand walked a new version with strike throughs and new language into the boardroom tonight. And these will also be posted with the agenda following the meeting. We went through and struck the his, her, and went to there in this policy as a primary change. And then the other language we had recommended on Saturday for discussion hasn't changed. We did change the number of designated positions that are required to fill out the Form 700, updated with current position titles. And then for folks who don't typically need to fill out the Form 700 because they're not making live decisions on contracts. We've struck those from the designated positions, and we've also struck language around consultants. And we'd be happy to hear from the board.
Can I get a motion and a second on revision of?
So moved.
Second, but I also have a quick,
Oh, yes, go ahead, Dr. Agahanian.
yeah, Dr. McCoy, can you explain to our millions of viewers what a Form 700 is?
Certainly, elected officials in the state of California and public employees who have the authority to sign contracts are required annually to submit to the County of Los Angeles, not the County Office of Education, but the County of Los Angeles, a Form 700 disclosure form. And so on that form, elected officials are to identify any financial conflicts of interest that they have with the business of the district or the board. They're also required to report gifts of over $50 and aggregate gifts over $630. That form is submitted annually. And there's also an entering office form and a leaving office form. So if you are leaving the board, you'll receive a final leaving office form. If you're coming on to the board, you'd receive an entering office form. It's an annual requirement, and there are statutory penalties for elected officials and school officials who do not fill out and submit the Form 700.
Thank you. Any discussion on this item, 9270 conflict of interest? Okay, thank you for making the changes, and especially under the designated positions and clarifying those, making those specific to us. It was moved by Dr. Weisberg, seconded by Dr. Agahanian, to approve the revisions to Board Bylaw 9270, conflict of interest. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 4-0. 12L, consideration of revision of Board Bylaw 9200, limits of board member authority.
Thank you, President, Sponsor Kamkar, trustees, staff, and guests. Before the board is a consideration of revision to Board Bylaw 9200, limits of board member authority. Based on our discussion on Saturday, we've added to the fourth paragraph. Still says board members should inform superintendent or designee before meeting with district employees requesting services from district employees and or volunteering in schools and classrooms. We did add, per our discussion, the policy shall not inhibit board members from communicating regularly with district stakeholders or participating in volunteer opportunities available to all parents, caregivers, and families. And I would, just for the benefit of the public, this policy does not in any way prohibit employees and staff and community members from contacting trustees to discuss any concern regarding the district. The policy is really designed to prevent any trustee who would do so from requesting personal services from district employees or meeting with groups of employees to discuss business of the district without informing staff so that we could be present to help answer questions. So this is a recommendation of staff to approve the revisions to Board Bylaw 9200, limits of board member authority as presented.
Can I get a motion in a second? Discussion. Dr. Weisberg.
I talked about this in the retreat. I am continue to struggle with that 3 words. The communicating, wait, where is it?
Meeting with
district employees.
That's okay.
Thanks. 4 words. I think the intent makes perfect sense, but I think we achieved the same thing with the whole rest of it, where we say volunteering, use their position to inhibit the performance of school personnel. I don't know if we could add something about services, unless it's, requesting services from district employees, like that's in there already. And so Dr. McCoy, I think your point is a good one, right? That it's not supposed to inhibit. But if I were reading this, even with the caveat that you put in, which I really appreciate, based on the last year and change here in BUSD, I would feel like this was creating a roadblock to speaking with somebody. And if what you're saying is it's not intended to be that, and I believe that it's not intended to be that, I don't know how, if those words stay in there, it isn't read that way.
I don't think staff has any problem with striking that meeting with district employees as long as like a policy is only, or a bylaw or a policy is only as good as how you implement it.
Absolutely.
And so I think the most difficult in my experience, role of the trustee is to balance that need for individual communication with, how that communication can be moved to action to help employees who don't feel valued, to help employees who don't feel communicated with, to help employees that are not feeling good about their workplace. And so I don't think as a bylaw or a policy, if the board assented, that staff has no objection to striking those 4 words. I think that the code of ethics and the conflict of interest associated with 9200 create sort of a good triangle, if you will, of support for trustees to understand how to balance that role.
Yeah.
And will be a big part of our onboarding. So if that's something that we're interested in striking, I think staff has no issues with that.
Ms. Cano?
Okay, so Dr. McCoy, you feel that we have enough checks and balances? Because for me, I'm more, my feeling is that communication still should go to you. Now, maybe it doesn't before. I'm thinking the only thing I could think of is, could we take out before that? Maybe if we have met, then that we come to you, because I'm thinking of, what we went through. Had that policy been that at some time a trustee has got to go to the superintendent when they've done what they've spoken, then some of the things that we saw, we've talked about in the past, not present company excluded, basically, might have had maybe not, but you know what I'm saying is, do we have enough?
Yeah, so I think Trustee Kano, where I can have you more reassured is in paragraph 3, which we didn't change. It says individual board members do not have the authority to resolve complaints. Any board member approached directly by a person with a complaint should refer the complaint to the superintendent or designee so that the problem may receive proper consideration, be handled through appropriate district processes. So I think the language is there. The language of your concern is there in the policy. It hasn't been amended. But as we've experienced here in BUSD, it's all about how we implement the policy and abide by it as trustees.
I'm just looking for a way not to have any kind of clicks that could.
Dr. Weisberg.
I think it's always challenging, right? Because all of us on the board have different relationships with community members. The onus is on us to make sure that the information isn't sequestered, so that we are sharing that information with the superintendent, and that when we meet with somebody, even if they're asking to meet with us confidentially, what we say is, this information that you shared with me, I'm going to need to talk to the superintendent about it, or you should talk to the superintendent about it, or have you spoken with, Dr. Hasty or whatever. So I think Dr. McCoy is making like a really salient point, which is, what happens if one of us breaks it? We're censured, right? So it's really about instilling in all of us an understanding of what the protocols are and what the procedures are that we need to follow, and how that hurts the district as a whole when we don't do that. Because we can't there's no police that are going to show up at our door and say, you talk to somebody in secret. So I think part of why I feel all these policies are so important is we're putting teeth behind it. We're actually putting policy behind something, and we tried to do it, I don't know how many months ago, and then everything blew up. But the onus is on us as board members to understand our role. And I don't know that any language is going to protect that. We have to do that work. And I think that Dr. McCoy already, for me at least, has been very helpful in helping me better understand, because I don't know that we've operated as traditional board members for the past X number of time, because things haven't been normal. So, right. So part of what I'm excited about and interested in is how can I be a more effective board member and also learn to trust again, where I feel like we have a great team and I don't have to try to do too much. But all of that to say, these policies are really important in reminding us how we should conduct ourselves. And we could add a billion pieces of language in there, but if we're not willing to do that work, it almost won't matter.
I think the only part that I would add to that is we talked a little bit about norms on Saturday. We did talk a lot about norms, but I do think that that's where this comes up a little bit, right? Is, okay, if an employee requests a meeting and it's confidential, like what is our norm around responding to that, right? And maybe it's, you take the meeting and hear them out and then say, that I can't resolve individual complaints, but I want to make sure that the right information is passed on to the right people. So I don't need to tell them that you told me, but either you can tell them or I'm going to pass on the information because this is vital, right? But we need to be able to have, I understand what you're saying. I don't know that ends up in policy. I think that ends up a little bit more in norms.
I'm just saying right now, just given the history, I'm not talking about us right at this time, and I'm not even talking to us about us 6 months ago, 9 months ago. I'm talking about past times in this board in Burbank, that it's gotten people into trouble when the whole district has had a lot of problems because of that. But I'm thinking some of what you're saying is our new PIO, having people understand. I think, well, the general public does not know what we do. They don't understand. They think that we run the whole thing and that we can tell everybody what to do and really have no idea of who can do what. So I think that this in hand with, you informing, helping the general public understand what the school board does is going to be really helpful.
I think that's right. And it's about that, like how you escalate an issue, right? And so that we're clear about that with people. So I'm curious then, because we talked about a possible amendment. So, do you want to suggest an amendment then, Dr. Weisberg? Are we suggesting that we remove the words meeting with district employees?
Yes, that is what I'm suggesting.
And then the extra then comma after the next employees. All right, great. Dr. Arkanian, are you okay with that amendment, given you made the motion to? All right, then can we, so the motion was made by Dr. Arkanian and seconded by Ms. Kano to approve board. Oh, yes, can you do the second to the amendment, please? You just say a second.
Oh,
Yeah. Okay, great, thank you. Moved by Dr. Arkanian, seconded by Ms. Kano to approve an amended board bylaw, 9200 limits of board member authority. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you so much. All right, 12M, consideration of revision of board bylaw 9323, meeting conduct. Dr. McCoy.
Thank you, President, Sponsor Camcar, trustees, staff, and guests. Before the board is consideration of revision of Board Bylaw 9323, meeting conduct. Again, our changes are noting that we have 5 members, not 7, and that if we were to only have 3 members, that we could still run the meeting, and 2 out of 3 would be considered a majority on any item that was considered by the board. Also, we have struck some language around responding directly in public comment, and we're recommending 3 instead of 5 minutes for public comment to come online with most, if not all, California school districts. And we recommend this approval.
Can I have a motion and a second, please? All right, any discussion on this item? Dr. Arkanian.
Yes, so there will be also, just like currently we're saying, with the exception of, so when it comes to comments, unless the board makes an exception to extend, that will be added into the.
That's already in the language that we read at public comment, but yes.
So we will continue that, except instead of 5, we can say 3.
Yes.
That's for clarity.
Yes.
Thank you.
And adjustments in the other direction with full consent of the board is usually
okay with part of this bylaw, though I should.
Yeah, both of those are in the current language, so we can always extend a person's time with consent of the board beyond the 3 minutes, like we can now beyond the 5 minutes. And then in rare circumstances, when if there were 50 public speakers, the board could consider reducing time to allow everyone to participate in a reasonable timeline. So those are already within the policy. The only change is the primary number from 5 to 3.
Well, for our millions of viewers, it was only a year ago too. We had what, 3, 4 on average. We had 100, 150. Something. Remember we had like 100 speakers.
That was during COVID times, I think.
Was it? Yes. Had to.
For, I think every board dealt with that during COVID.
Dr. Weisberg?
Two things. So, Dr. McCoy, I think it would be really helpful to walk everybody through. Let me back up. So one of the things that you said to us early on was that there were a lot of elements of our board meetings that were pretty outdated, which is really helpful, right? And so one of the things that came up is, I don't know of any other school district in California, if not maybe the country, that has a 5-minute public comment with no limitation on it. And so I think it's helpful to frame why we're making the change, and which is not to limit people's ability to participate. And then the other thing I wanted you to speak to, and I will say the second thing I struggle with as well, which is board members not being able to respond. And so I understand why, and I think you'll speak to this. It can be a Brown Act problem. The thing that I wrestle with is, even though we always say, email us, call us, like we are here, we are available to you, often these meetings are the only time where people get to hear us respond to things. And look, I'm not saying everything we say is genius, but it's often the only time there's any dialogue, because people, whether we like it or not, the only time they engage with us is when they're watching a meeting, right? So I guess my question to you is, beyond explaining sort of why it can be a Brown Act violation, how can we sort of address, because that's really the only feedback I've received about our bylaws is like, but we want to hear what the board has to say. And I'm like, yeah, because you don't. So how do we answer that?
So there's excuse me, there's a couple different ways to think about it. One is that when we agendize and respond to public comment from the dais, we're potentially doing a couple things. One is having a discussion on the dais of an item that's not on the agenda. The second is we may be committing to services that the district isn't capable or able to provide. The way that staff can, at the direction of the president, speak to folks during the meeting and hear more from them, and then follow up and communicate with the board how we're following up with particular concerns. The other thing is, it's human nature that we would defend our decisions, right? And so if whoever comes to the dais to public comment, to bravely address us, whatever they have to say are their words to say to us. So I have, over a long period of time, had people ask me how I can sit with a nice face when people are saying some personal things about me. And I would say that it's their absolute right to say the things that are on their mind. And I bear no malice or ill will to that. I also know that it's important as a public agency that we consider what feedback is with any comment that we receive. But if it's a charged comment, our natural response is going to be to defend ourselves. And then we end up kind of in an argument sometimes in public, when that's not the point of public comment or the point of a board meeting, which is conduct the business of the district. So we would say that there is no limitation of, we just said in the previous policy, for community to contact board members, to meet with them individually, to have board members forward those concerns and issues directly to the superintendent. But I also say it's incumbent upon the superintendent and staff. Hi, guys. I'm Ms. McIntosh. it's incumbent upon us to respond. And so if you're in a situation where you direct us to find out more about what's happening with that person as they leave the podium, and we don't follow through and we don't report back to you and we don't report back to them, then we start to see some of the concerns the community has had with us over a period of time. So the job of the superintendent is communication and problem solving, and then tasking the resources of the district to problem solve on behalf of what kids need. And so the other half of the equation is accountability for the superintendent to follow through with the concerns that are brought forward. And then sometimes we have to bravely tell people that we can't help with that, but here's how we're going to approach and talk to them through what's going on. But it's really about our staff response to the comments that come to the board or the critical piece that may have been missing at some period in the past. And we can't be shy. We have to respond. We have to make those phone calls, have those meetings. And when people are unhappy with us, we have to hear why and we have to take action. And I think that's also incumbent upon the board to, as we've done already tonight, request items for future consideration that would go on agendas, right? And so if we hear something in public comment and we hear it and we hear it and we hear it, trustees have every responsibility to tell us, let's put that on the agenda and discuss it. And then that allows us to have a conversation about it with the background and information provided by staff. And so we all have a role to play, particularly our staff needs to be responsive to the community and responsive to it. Directions from trustees to respond to the community.
Anything from Ms. Khan, Dr. Arpani? Go ahead.
Yeah, in terms of, I mean, yeah, I think sometimes just personally, then when listening, you're right. It is difficult when being called names and such. And so if one person, I have felt that if one person answers and then they're giving their point of view, then it almost makes us all have to give our point of view. And then that it's a long time. And I don't know if that, for me, I don't know if that's ever really solved anything, because then the same thing comes back all the time, as opposed to being, to me, seemingly more proactive with this idea of who can actually solve the problem. Because as we said, we really can't solve some of those problems. That's, the power brokers in the room. So
I will say, one of the things that we've switched over the last 6 months is having people add their email addresses or contact information to the comment cards. You may not see it over on that end. But what I would love is that maybe after each meeting, we get just for the folks that we have contact information for, maybe we could send that out to the board members. We had a gentleman here back in June who had a comment about the pride flags at the elementary schools. And in the spirit of not responding to public comment, I said, I've got your email, I'm going to respond to you. And I sent him a very long email. That was a story about my family that I didn't necessarily want to share in public anyway, right? But I think if you feel strongly about responding to it, there's still an opportunity to, if they share their contact information, right? And so I share that to say, I certainly don't do my best thinking when put on the spot with someone calling me names anyway. So giving myself, and I think I didn't respond for a couple of weeks, giving myself a little bit of time to let it marinate was probably best for all of us. But yeah, I think if we could logistically get the emails that anybody shares on the comment cards out to the board after the meeting so that people can respond to any of the public comment, that would be great.
Good, we can do that.
Right. Dr. Weisberg.
Could we add the language about including the email when we in the sentence where we say fill out a comment card, because people might skip it or not see it? Or is it extraneous ignorance?
So we would say, 6 to 1, half a dozen to the other. Some people in the past, I don't want to put my email on the card. And so what we can look at on the card is maybe to add a sentence that if you would like follow up,
right.
please add an email address then and in a district, person, person from the district will respond to.
I think that's great. Two quick things. Thing one is, while these changes I think are wholly positive, change is hard for Burbank. And so I think how you shared it tonight was really helpful in giving an understanding of here's why because it's going to feel different to people, right? So one of the things I would like us to think about is, how do we communicate these meeting changes? Because you did such a good job now of talking us through the Brown Act and talking us through how to reframe it and why, we need to give the people that we've hired to do the jobs the opportunity to do their jobs. So that's something to think about. And then the other thing I want us to think about, and I brought this up at the board retreat, is we've come a long way, BUSD. We have a very long way to go in regards to intolerance. That's the best word I can think of in the moment. And I said in the board retreat, I am still extremely uncomfortable when somebody comes up to the dais. And again, it's their right to say whatever they want to say. They can come up and they can say whatever they want to say, America. But we sit up here as representatives of every single student, staff member, and family member within our district. And for me, it is totally remiss if we don't respond in some way to hate speech. I'm not saying we say, get out, you suck, but I'm saying we reiterate our commitment as a district to the values that we've stated very clearly about a safe and inclusive space. And so we had talked a little bit about having something that we could read and then maybe reread, but I'm not saying we all need to get up there and whatever, but for me, this is like, something has to be there, because silence, even if we email later on, silence for people watching, to me, we can't go back that direction. We've got to keep going in the right direction. And I do think that is the one thing I would ask for.
And I think we talked about this briefly at the retreat.
Yeah.
As we reboot the core values of the district, it may be that we provide that as a preamble to meetings, because we're designing it to be short and to the point and descriptive of what we believe. And that might be something we can work into some of our preambles of the meetings, like the land acknowledgement and some of the things that we do. The other thing, I want to encourage trustees to use board reports and communications on the agenda to express themselves regarding the things that are important to trustees. And these are individual statements that are agendized so that folks have a chance to not just report out on all the great communication they've had, school events they've attended, but that would be another place where trustees on the agenda can communicate that. So we'll work on some kind of preamble or civility statement, and we'll talk through it.
Thank you.
And when board reports are not happening reports from board members is not happening at 11:15 or 11:59, maybe we'll be willing to give them. And
We have a
people will be willing
chance.
to listen.
We have a chance.
Ms. Cano.
Just one question in terms of how you see, Dr. McCoy, how you see on this, we have got, when we're talking about in terms of that we have, asking people that if they're more than one person is going to be talking about, that they all come together. And it's also here that the board need not allow the public to speak on an item that's already been considered by the committee composed. So how will the board president then address that? If it's something that, because you've seen it. We've had sometimes people that it's a hot topic, but then, 15 people are basically.
Yeah, and just for clarification, item 4 in the policy relates to board subcommittees, which we currently don't have. So we would only not consider communicating on something on an agenda if a board subcommittee had taken action on it with a district committee. We don't have that structure anymore. It's just something we had done in the past that we don't do anymore. But what we could do is sometimes we'll talk as staff to folks. If we see card 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 come in, we can approach them and say, would you like 10 minutes? And you can all come up together and have 10 minutes on the clock, and then they can go the whole group at the same time, rather than having 10 people go for 3 minutes at a time. that's something we can do. That's within the authority of the board to make that decision. We also, they can say no, and that's okay too. But I think as we continue to gain organizational health and we improve communications, some of this will have a little bit of self-correcting as we get there. But I think the strong message from trustees through the policy is that public input is valuable, public input is necessary, and it helps us respond to the needs of the community.
Right, thank you. So any other discussion on 9323? All right, it was moved by Dr. Arkanian, seconded by Ms. Kano to approve the revision of board bylaw 9323. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. 12N, consideration of revision of board bylaw 9322, agenda meeting materials, which I do not actually have a copy of.
Yeah, we made no changes from our version on Saturday.
Got it.
And so we are recommending that the board approve 9322 agenda and meeting materials. We changed one word, which was we changed a may to shall in regard to being attentive to requests to place items on the agenda from other trustees. The bylaw is essentially we're revising it and really renewing it and just making sure that the public understands that when we build the agenda, we build that based on the input of the school board as well as the input of the staff, and that there are provisions for the public to request agenda items that are also articulated in the policy. So this is not a substantive change, but just the change itself was one word, but it was really important for the public to know that the agenda is a public document that's built in a process with board president and vice president, superintendent, and the district staff, our executive team, and that the board cannot agendize things that aren't within that they call the discretion of the school district. So while we can receive public comment on maybe a political hot topic, if it's not within our jurisdiction and responsibility, we cannot agendize an item to take action on it. But we'll be happy to take input and feedback. But we are recommending the policy as presented with just the one word changing from may to shall.
Right, can I have a motion in a second? Any discussion on this item? All right. We've been moved by Dr. Arkanian, second by Dr. Weisberg to revise board bylaw 9322, agenda and meeting materials. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Board policies done and dusted. All right, consent agenda is 13. We're doing this. It's organized differently. Wouldn't say we're doing it entirely differently. No. But does anyone want to pull any individual items from the consent agenda for voting? I would like to talk about the special education items, JJ through QQ as a group. Yes. Which we can then approve as a group. But well, we didn't pull them, they're amended, right? No. So can I make the motion to approve A through J as presented, K as amended, L through W as presented, X as amended, Y through II as presented, and RR?
Yes, you can.
Sure can, buddy. Can someone make that? Can someone, can you? Thank you. I don't know. Thank you. I got it. I said, can I get a motion for that? And you said so moved. And can I get a second? Okay. So let's approve that part of the consent agenda first. So all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion passes. So then let's talk about the special agenda or special education items. So this is JJ through QQ. Go ahead, Dr. McCoy.
Thank you. And under special education items, JJ through QQ are outside agency agreements for special education services. The total cost of the district of these items is about $9.8 million. we are recommending as staff that we approve these because they're tied directly to services to students that are currently in place. But we had a long discussion earlier on one of our action items, and really that's the discussion we would have right now, is that we need to, as part of our work in special education in particular, student services to some extent, we need to look at all our agency agreements and look to see what needs to continue and what needs to be sunset, what services should be provided by BTA and CSEA employees as full-time and benefited positions, work with our union partners on that work to reorganize job descriptions around our special education support staff. So this is a whole host of work that needs to occur. This reporting back on these agenda items would be part of our report to you at the first interim budget.
So, sorry, before we do that, can I get a motion to approve JJ through QQ as presented? All right, and then discussion, Dr. Arifani.
No, I mean, based on what the superintendent just said, we're approving this, but then, so no one, okay, never mind.
No, feel free, if you have clarification, that's.
No,
fine.
again, I just want to make sure that what he just mentioned about, savings and then union partners, there's a follow-up. And so time-wise, what are we looking at, Dr. McCoy, in terms of just, coming back on these?
So we will bring to you a progress report at the first interim budget. If we have it earlier, we'd obviously bring that earlier. But what this means is a review of potentially hundreds of IEPs to make sure that we understand what services are being provided and that how we're going to continue to provide those services. And like everything we discuss with our special education students, never making a budget decision that prevents a student from having what they need to be successful. And so the magic is looking at all these services and then having a smooth transfer of the service to a district employee that allows for that really a better experience for students over time, addressing maybe if an agency needs to continue addressing quality of service from that agency, as we've heard some concerns about that from staff loud and clear. So this is the starting point of a lot of work that needs to go on. And then we'll be reporting back to you by first interim and earlier as possible.
And
go ahead.
And Chair, as a follow-up, these contracts, if we're not happy with them, what is the timeline of within the language there? Because some contracts might say, well, you have to be with us 6 months. If we do your contract, you're not happy, then we're too bad.
Yeah, that's part of the work. The business services department is to work with our developing special education student services team to understand what contracts need 30-day notice, what need 90-day notice, what need 120-day notice. And that will be part and parcel of our discussion internally as we look to, we call it sense making, like to make sense out of this issue.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Can I just ask, the amounts that are on these contracts, is that essentially what we spent with these same vendors last year for student services?
They're roughly around the same amount, but again, they're tied to students and services. So this is laid out for the school year.
Got it. Okay, so this is school year services with, okay. And will we, I know sometimes we see individual contracts with providers come back because of settlements. Will that still be the case, or are these contracts going to cover that work as well?
So that's it depends. So we'll always try and if we need to provide compensatory time and we already have an agreement with a provider, then we will try and place that compensatory time with that provider under the current agreement. What we will do a better job is notifying the board when we're starting to approach a limit on a not to exceed, instead of just bringing it as an item, but providing information in advance that we can do that. So just as an example, Mr. LaBelle and I and Dr. Hasty, we didn't bring forward an agency contract with childcare provider that we had for the last several years because we were backfilling vacancies in ATB with agency. And so that was one that we were able to sunset immediately, about $400,000. We just didn't renew it because we're now looking at these things in great detail as they come forward. So we did not bring that to you. And that's the process we're going to go through with all these contracts that are before you for approval.
Thank you. All right, so JJ through QQ was moved by Ms. Cano, seconded by Dr. Weisberg. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Oh my goodness. 14, board reports and communications. Dr. Iaconi, I'm going to start with you. Do you have any reports to give at this early hour of 8:42?
Yes.
My sweet.
I am, I want to commend and acknowledge our superintendent and the team. We really like the breakdown of the reports, how organized they are. Because technically this is my first meeting that as you as the new superintendent. I think the information is efficient and I really appreciate the way this is structured. So thank you to you and everyone, staff and team. That's it, man. Thank you.
Ms. Cano, anything to share?
Yes, definitely want to thank everybody and just basically wishing all, everybody next week, especially for teachers. I know you're in there. Be careful putting your classrooms together. We're all laughing at all the memes and all the reels that are going around with the teachers. Yeah. The whole, I think I sent it to you that, yeah, doing my classroom, except that the beginning of my birth year starts with 19. So it's like, I've already told people in my building, if you hear a big thump, just dial 911. So everybody's ready to go. I think we're all excited. I know the kids are getting excited. I'm excited. Teachers are excited. So, and then on the 11th, Tuesday afternoon, there's a big
PTA welcome fair.
Yeah.
From 5 to 7 at John Burroughs High School.
Which quad?
Yeah, which quad?
I'm told it's the big quad.
Okay, no, I'm just.
Dr. Iaconi, did you have more to add to your report?
Yeah, and I also. I also want to. Our son is starting high school. Just want to put this out there. No, I'm not. I'm excited. I am. Sorry. He's taller than me now. So time flies, right? Sorry. I just had to put it. And thank you to all of our teachers. And he misses all of you already, but he's starting high school now. So
He's going to be a bulldog. Dr. Weisberg.
I wanted to thank BTA for inviting us to the new teacher orientation. It was so exciting to meet so many new teachers. And I think it's one of the things I love about Burbank Unified is that we're small enough where we can all come together like that and walk around and have lunch and just talk with everybody. And it was great that staff was there as well. So thanks to BTA for always making us feel included, which is wonderful. I wanted to shout out all of our schools for registration. I happened to help out at Huerta and just so impressed with everybody, especially the office staff, custodial, doing all of it while people are still working on the roofs. Like that is no joke. So huge. And it was super fun to see all of the students arrive and look terrified, but excited. So big thank you to everybody at Huerta for inviting me to help out. And I'm excited to go to adult school on Monday and do the same. And just wanted to, along with what everybody else said about going back to school next week, to our teachers, but all of our classified staff who are hard at work and have been hard at work over the summer. Our facilities team, our IT team, our business team. I mean, summer is fun, but it's not slow. in the district office. And I'm not sure that people know that so much work goes on. And so a huge thank you to everybody and to Dr. McCoy and Mr. LaBelle for the hiring. Like that's a lot of hiring panels in a very short period of time. And that takes an enormous amount of effort and focus. Everybody on the panels, but also the two of you. So just excited to start the year and just a thank you to everybody who's been working so hard this summer to make sure that we start off on the right foot.
Thank you, Dr. Weisberg. I wanted to say I appreciated the break in July. I feel like that was the first time that we've really gotten a real break in July. Definitely we didn't get one last year. But you know, I'm excited to go back next week. I'm excited for my children to be back in school next week and to be back in childcare full time next week. But, you know, I think it was mentioned. And so I wanted to say, like, for people who didn't pick up on the context clues, when Dr. McCoy said there's going to be 2 new board members, the last day for declaring candidacy for the Board of Trustees is tomorrow. I am not running for reelection. That is because this week I closed on a company. So I have a new job, which is that I am a business owner. And so I have several employees and a big loan to manage over the next 4 years. So I could not commit to another 4 years, even if the kind of people of trustee area 4 were kind enough to reelect me. So I would say to folks who are running, which it looks like there's going to be a number, feel free to reach out. I'm happy to be a resource. But it is, there's still a lot of work to do. Certainly in terms of governance, because we have a big governance handbook to write, and we want to make sure that these next 2 new board members who come on are starting off in a much better place than any of us were able to start from, and that we have not just really great training materials for them, but stuff that's Burbank specific to how we do things. And there's so much to be done over the next couple of months. So I'm obviously not going anywhere, but I did want to clarify that for people if they were curious. But it's been a pleasure.
Just for clarification.
I will be, my term will be ending in December.
Thank you for
Is that what you were looking for? Yes. But I have a child who's class of 2037, so you can expect that I will not be going away anytime soon. I'm just going to go ahead and put a plug in for myself on the calendar committee for the future, because you know I am passionate about that calendar. I will be a pain in your butt on that one if you want me to be, or if you don't. And so that is my. I'm crazy about the calendar. The other thing I did want to say thank you to staff. I mentioned that we had gotten a number of emails about the elementary lunch menu, or I'd gotten a number of texts about the elementary lunch menu, both happy and just lots of texts because it's a big change. And we know we sometimes have a hard time with change. And I knew I was recalling conversations that we'd had about the kitchens at elementary and that there wasn't going to be much hot food, but I was trying to get clarification, and there's already been a communication that came out today about it. And so I really appreciate that, bringing that clarity to parents. I think especially in this week or two before school, the more we can do to just let people know what those first couple days and first couple weeks are going to look like, the better. So thank you I think we're going to have a great start to the school year. So with that, can I get a motion to adjourn at 8:51?
Hallelujah. Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right. Motion passes unanimously. Adjourned.
With every